You lead off then. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It is now the second on Tuesday. We're just trying to get a few things fixed and straightened out. Welcome to showusdonttellus, and I'll tell you what, tonight we have a great co-host as always. I've got Skillzzz with me and Mr. Peter Kling, and we are going to get rocking and rolling here. So. We are here. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I was waiting for that message real quick. Tonight, we're going to be talking live, and we're going to be talking about a few things. But right now, I'm going to introduce Skillzzz. How's it going, brother?
Welcome, guys and gals, to showusdonttellus, another episode again here live on the L&M Radio Network. And hey, for all you out there listening, thanks for listening. And we got a couple bumps and grinds, but you're going to have that on these big late night Midlands radio shows. It's going quite well. Just finished my 60-hour work week, and off for a night, my radio night, and then back at it for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then off for 5. So I'm looking forward to my 5 days off because my boy and I have many projects to tackle. But on that note, now I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Peter Kling. Take it over, Petey.
Where am I taking it to?
Hey, you always switch gears. Hey, whatever. We got an agenda here. We'll get to it when we get to it.
I suppose it's been a long day here for me. I did almost a 3-hour radio show with Alfred Weber earlier today, and so here we are today. Actually, I thought that was going to be released a little bit later this week, but it's actually look for it. It'll be online here. It already actually is. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll find it there. But I'll be promoting it more tomorrow. I took a nap after that show so I could be ready for this show.
Well, that is awesome stuff. Tonight, you know what? We decided, we want to talk about a couple of things that kind of, touch home or hit the heart with people. And in the second part of our show, we're going to be talking about, our children a little bit tonight and what they kind of put us through and how things have changed over time. As far as just a variety of different things, we finding that the grandparents now are raising kids more, and everything like that. But we're going to hit that in the second part. In the first part, I thought we'd all kick on off, and Peter, you can help us along with this one. Is going to be about, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow. What would you plan? How would you plan it? How would you plan your funeral? What would be the things that you would do? How would you want to be remembered? What kind of carbon footprint are you going to be leaving here? There's so many different ideas and thoughts on this, but I wanted to get into it first,
Well, how about like next week? Tomorrow be kind of like pushing it, you know what I mean? Because I'd be like, oh man, I got to scramble. All of a sudden, hey, by the way, the Reaper guy says, hey, you currently have 24 hours. You better make plans quick. And you'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, I never thought about this, man.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of people don't. We always, I guess that we have that notion that we're going to be around, till we're going to be around. We don't think about it. You look in the mirror and you say, okay, I'm getting older. But here you go. Now, what do? You've got 24 hours. Here you go. Peter?
I don't have to look in the mirror to see I'm getting older. I'm having problems seeing the mirror. Is that a tip-off?
Yeah, I know that feeling too. So
Man, I've been in that situation so many times. It's kind of interesting. You don't really think about it. We think about it beforehand. Oh, what if this happens, or what if that happens? But I've found myself in the hospital lots of times where, I guess the worst time was when I was in a coma. I remember vaguely coming out of it just for a few seconds and trying to figure out where I am, and I saw all these religious people standing around.
Yeah.
I saw like ministers there, and my mother was there. I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, and you know it does. It happens like that. Back in 2010, 2011, and I don't know how many of the listeners know or not. I Back in 2005, I was diagnosed with lupusssle, and of course, after the first test, he's like, "Listen, let's run a whole nother blood count on you. Let's do everything. Recheck again, see how this goes. Let's do this after 30 days." So we did that. Boom, hit again. So, and I was hitting on all the different factors. They got like 20 different factors that they test initially or whatever, and in the blood work, always low positives, but boom, there it was. We knew we had some kind of autoimmune that we're dealing with. And just to kind of lay this out and not try to be long-winded and take away from you guys, but it's one of those things that I was finally told the answer as to why it took so long for them to definitively tell me that it was lupus. And they said, because it's a kiss of death with the insurance companies. He said, we diagnose you for something, it's a kiss of death for you. Then, this is why we had this pre-existing condition crap, because they hold it against you, which they did.
Right.
And, much to my dismay and anger, because it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. I was going through a divorce, selling the house that we had, at that time, because I didn't know where life was going to take us. And then having to sit down with my kids and say, okay, here's the deal. Mom and Dad are getting divorced. We're going to be moving. And, when you just up and move your kids, Skillz, you'll say it. Moving is one of the biggest nightmares you can go through. That's stressful.
It is. Pete will tell you that. What Peter on the list of top 3, correct?
Yeah, top 3: moving, divorce, and marriage, and death.
Yeah.
The death of a loved one. They all rank right up there. But typically, I think divorce, death, and moving, relocating.
And I was trying to that's how it is. And I was trying to hit the trifecta, so I had to sit down with my 2 kids and tell them, okay.
Yeah, the old trifecta. Yeah. You're a wiener.
Yeah.
That a boy.
Dad's on borrowed time, and this is what's going on and how everything is. So, and of course, thank God, I decided in my mind right then and there, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen with this lupus. I don't know what's going to happen with all this stuff, but I'm going to stay in the area, and I'm going to, work this out as best as I can, this divorce out with my ex-wife, which we did, and we did it in a wonderful, spectacular way. Enough so that it ticked off the judge in court, because we didn't hire lawyers, which I recommend to everybody. Just, you lived a long life, you had kids, everything like that. Be nice. Be nice. That's all. But anyway, 2010.
Right.
Given a medication. It was tramadol. And I was in the middle of a flare, and I didn't know it, and I was having sarcoidosis episode at that time. At least that's what they believed it to be.
Another Greek term. Yes. Go ahead. Ends in an S.
I'm telling you, I was sitting at work. It was right around 3 o'clock, and my employer and I, we just got back from lunch about an hour earlier, hour and a half, and we were working. I said, man, I'm telling you, I must have pulled a muscle in my right side. And then 4 o'clock, I was like, I think I broke a rib. 5 o'clock, I was on the phone with my son. I was like, you got to come get me. I can't drive. and I don't want to call an ambulance to come over here in the middle of rush hour. I said, come get me, take me down to the VA. The last thing I remember was 6 o'clock, and I heard somebody saying, stay down, stay down. Then I ended up in the, at the emergency room there, and I guess I had stopped breathing. They gave me a sternum rub. My ex-wife was there. My wife now, Judy, was there. And they gave me a sternum rub, and then I woke up the next morning in one of the beds upstairs. And, of course, they had those inflatable beds. You know what I'm saying? You could hear the...
Oh, boy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you're laying on this piece of plastic with the sheet on you. You're freezing your, yeah. And
you're hiding me. Yeah.
That was the first time that I realized, oh, okay, what the hell happened? So, having that brings us back the long way around, of course, to our question. What do you do? You got 24 hours. Here it is. It's on the line, and go. What do you do?
I don't know. What do you think, Peter? I have to think about that, and I only have 2 minutes, not 24 hours. What the frick?
Well, I don't know. I've never actually been in that situation. I mean, I've gone through divorce. I've moved a bunch of times, and I've been in the hospital more times than I can actually keep track of. And we face situations all the time, and it's difficult to say exactly what we do because we're all individuals. We're all shaped by different circumstances. It's interesting. I think of all the times that you would just say, just kill me and get it over with, But when it comes down to it, and you're in a situation where you're fighting for your life, it takes on a different attitude. I don't ever remember laying there wishing that I was dead. Even though I was in a lot of pain and times that I hit that little button a lot, but I don't ever remember having to go through something where, it was questionable whether I was going to live through the situation, but you just don't think about it when it's happening. At least I never did. And as far as anything ever did happen to me where I did pass away, I already decided a long time ago. It's like the last thing I want is a funeral. The last thing I want is people crying over me. I'd rather be cremated in 24 hours and then throw a party next week, Everybody's invited. But, I really don't want to be around. I don't want anybody. I don't want there to be a grave. I don't want anybody to come along and be able to piss on my grave, so to speak. I'd rather just have people remember me the way that I was in their mind while I was alive.
Right. Well, if they didn't visit you while you're alive, why bother now? For the family, of course. Well, there's a lot of truth to that to a certain extent, I suppose.
Hey,
go ahead. I just thought I'd interject.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not me. I want all you people to cry, sob, be miserable, do whatever it is that you have to do. I want somebody to say, that guy, remember that guy? He always had front row parking. Something.
I actually worked with the gal. Dear sweet gal. We're good friends, and she had she kept this hidden to herself too. But she got pancreatic cancer, and she was dead before anybody knew it.
Oh yeah, that goes fast. I had a buddy with that.
Yeah,
that's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah,
and
when you hear that word pancreatic, right, Skillz?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, there's hardly any coming back from that. I don't care. By the time you diagnose, it's too damn late. But
and
this gal
painful.
had. I imagine it probably is. I don't know. I've never.
They said it is one of the most painful cancers that you can have. It is absolutely one of the most miserable ones. That's for sure. That and bone cancer.
I can't imagine any of them are any good.
No.
But
yeah. Right.
My point is with this gal, she did exactly the same thing that I wanted to do, and when she passed away, there was no funeral. she had a memorial talk given about a week or so after the fact. And one of the other gals that we worked with, was complaining about that one day. She said, it's so terrible. They're not going to have a funeral for Ruth. And, I said, here's something. You will never have a memory of Ruth laying dead in a box.
Right.
And she thought about it and she said, you're right. I said, all of your memories about Ruth are going to be the good times that you had, the things that you shared together. It'll be all of those positive things. You will have never seen her in a box dead.
The only bit I have read for that reason, I mean, it's excellent, but the cons are some people want disclosure. In their mind, they need that disclosure. Otherwise, they feel like they're going to walk down the street and maybe see that person continuously. That happened with a buddy of mine. He didn't see his father when he passed away at all, and he would look for him. Anytime he was out for a walk, he would still look around thinking, I might bump into him. I might bump into him.
Is that hope? Is that hope? Is that what's driving, you think? I mean, see, these are the questions that when you have that, because, when you look at that and you keep looking for that person, what is that? Is that hope? Because aren't you still doing that now when you have those memories anyhow? Except for
that would still be denial. That would still be denial, right?
Well, I mean, some people would say, okay, closure, like Peter said, and then some people would be like, okay, I'm still looking for him. I have hope. Which one is easier on the mind?
I don't know. I think it's all how we handle it individually based on our own upbringing. As I mentioned, I did go through divorce more times than I want to think, but the one situation with my second wife, she flipped when her dad died, and it was a slow flip. It's not anything that, it's not like she changed in one day. She just gradually decayed, I guess, mentally is what if you want to explain it any other way. But she was Daddy's little girl, one of 10, and she held his hand in hers as he passed, and that just really did a number on him. And even though she had she was right there when he passed, literally holding his hand at the time. So there was no doubt in her mind that he was no longer with us. But yet, after the fact, it was like all of a sudden this secret daddy worship went on or something, and it changed her whole psyche. It literally changed her whole psyche, and it flipped her world upside down. And there was nothing I could do to stop that.
Nope, that's called PTSD, and that happens. Everybody is capable of getting it. It's not just for veterans. It's not just for police officers or emergency people, doctors or nurses. It's a part of life. Okay, you've got. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine a long time ago. I'm not really close with him anymore, but Josh Ambrose once described it as an egg, and in that egg, when those traumatic things happen, be it whatever they may. Once it gets cracked, for every different person, because each one of us are like a snowflake and we're all different, that crack, easily, those traumatic things are PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and they can happen. It just is.
Yeah, without a doubt, because I went through, she went through it with the death of her father, and then I went through it with our divorce. It wasn't messy. It wasn't. It was. She basically was in the process of destroying her whole family after that. It wasn't just me. It was like me and the kids, one by one.
Yeah, take them up. Take everybody down. I'm going down. I'm taking everybody.
And you know what? They can't help it either. Okay, it's
no.
Not something
It took me. It took me years to figure out to put all this together. It was like you're just so overwhelmed. At least I was overwhelmed by it, because this was like not just my wife, but she was my best friend too. We had a great relationship, and it was falling apart, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. And it It took 3 years before I finally said enough is enough, and the opportunity came, and we just went our separate ways. But since that incident, she's never been right since.
Now, see,
It's
it's
You know, you know,
Go ahead, Skillz.
something that concerns me, if I may cut in regards to this with somewhat of an answer, but I recall, when Dad passed away, he was cremated, and his older sister was cremated. So I was thinking, maybe that's the way to go, until I spoke with an individual that, I don't know, give me your take on this, all right? So I spoke with an individual a couple of years ago, and they had said that their spouse had asthma. I mean, a really bad. Like, if the asthma attack pops up, better be close to a hospital type of asthma. All right. And the thing was, is this individual had told their spouse, listen to this, I do whatever you do, I don't want to burn again. Don't burn me again. Or don't let anybody burn me again. Keyword is again. What does that mean? Again?
Well, because here's the thing. When you have, like, for me, having this sarcoidosis, and please, I know a lot of people see me. My only bad habit, I don't do drugs, I don't really drink. It's been very, very rare. I could count more now, I think, than what I ever have in my life, because every once in a while I'll stroll across the street. However, when you have a lung disorder and short of breath and everything, that's for me with the sarcoidosis, it can kick in at any time, and it does. It feels like a burning. When you breathe in, it feels like fire. It's the same with asthma people. A lot of them will tell you the same thing. It's like a very cold fire. If I could, I don't know how to explain it.
Holy smokes! You're 10 feet in front of me walking down the street. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, that's what it feels like. So, and I've had a fear, and I think that when we go, we have fears of things that affect us, and I don't know. And Peter, you could probably answer this better than Skillzzz, and I definitely could. But the thought of being in a box and buried scares the living bejesus out of me. The thought of being cremated scares the living bejesus out of me. And I thought, okay, and I've thought about this, and maybe I've thought about it more than others because, I've always said this. I'm in a 15-round title fight. I don't know what round I'm in, as long as I keep winning some of these rounds, but eventually it is going to get the better of me. Everything gets the better of anybody. So I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that. I'm just saying it is what it is. But my thought on it, I guess, is affected by a lot of fears. I do not like to be claustrophobic. MRIs don't bother me, so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about locked for an extended period of time in a very confined or closed space. No way, man. I don't like it. That is just not for me.
Well, trust me. When you pass, you're not going to be in an enclosed space. The body is nothing more than a vessel. It's like a glass in which you pour water into. And when we pass, that water leaves. Our soul, our life force, leaves the body, and our consciousness goes with it.
And it goes through walls, and it goes through everything. You see, my thought of once that thing is closed and sealed, and it's watertight and everything else, I don't want to be trapped in there, man.
Okay. guys, Bob Newhart did a skit on that with this gal. I came to see him. He's a psychologist, and he just said, get over it. Just get over it. That's it. It's not a puzzle. Get over it.
Here's the thing, and I want to point this out. Mike, with your situation, do you sit there every moment of the day and contemplate death? I seriously doubt it.
No, More,
You
more
you
now.
look for things to keep yourself going. I mean, this radio show is one of those things, and I listen to how you care for other people, especially veterans who are having issues. And this is a driving force in you, where you will put yourself out to help a brother in need any hour of the day, any day of the week. And this is something that, like, you put above everything else. It seems like, that's a driving force within you, and for you to give that up would be more pain than contemplating your own demise.
Oh,
And so when we're faced with something, it's like in my own situation, and it's easy to speak from your own experience, but our experience is just that, our experience. And so we're shaped and molded by that. And with my own experience in facing death as many times as I have and surviving it, it's you don't think about it anymore. You think of the process of getting busted up, and that's about it. I'm not going to say that hasn't caused any kind of distress. It certainly has, because most of the insane, stupid things that happen when I leave the house. They happen when I'm away from the home. And so for years, I would dread leaving the house, and it wasn't because it was almost like a learned response. If you leave, something can happen, and I would never leave the house without first praying. Seriously.
yeah.
And the anxiety attacks would get to be tremendous, where I really literally had to psych myself up to get in the car and go somewhere.
That's agoraphobia, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. It's agoraphobia, and it would seem like it's agoraphobia. Not that it's actually agoraphobia, but it became a learned response. In other words, Pavlov's dog. Leave the house,
Right.
something happens.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, right. Well, that's called that could be backward pairing as well with Pavlov's dogs, because for people out there that don't know what Peter's talking about, you have forward pairing, simultaneous pairing, and backward pairing. All right, those are psychological terms. All right, and the easiest way to explain that, real quick, if I may, is okay. You're driving down the road, all of a sudden it says hairpin turn ahead. Okay, which is normal. That's forward pairing. All right, simultaneous pairing is the hairpin turn sign is at the hairpin. That's a problem. The worst part is,
Yeah, it is.
no, this is all true.
Yeah.
The worst part is backward pairing. The sign is after the frickin' hairpin turn. Well, that did me a lot of good, Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
and you see, it's not like it became a phobia. It became a cause for anxiety to have to leave the house. Now, you may say, well, that sounds like a phobia to me. No, it wasn't that I was afraid to go outside. I just didn't want to go anywhere, because every time I went somewhere, something happened. Well, not every time, but you start having cars taken out from underneath you, flying deer, blue orbs. That there's, like I said, I've lost track of the number of times the number of trips I've taken to the hospital for one reason or another. Literally, I couldn't tell you how many times. I have no idea. I know it's a lot.
Well,
but
when I thought about this,
I don't sit there. Yeah, but I don't sit there during the day and think about, oh my God, if I leave the house, something like this is going to happen. No, I do what I do during the day. I spend as much time teaching people, helping people, doing things for other people, being a servant to this planet, carrying out my mission. That never gets sidetracked. That's my main focus. So while I may not leave the house, I realize it's actually a symptom of the area in which we live, on grid, because off grid it's a totally different situation. I look around in the neighborhood here where we are at my son's house, soon to be my son's ex-house. Thank you, banking people. But regardless, you don't see people outside. You see cars in the driveway, but you don't see people in their backyards. You don't see people out on their decks. You don't see people walking around the neighborhood. It's almost like a ghost town, so to speak. So, today people come home and they never leave their homes once they're there.
Well, except for my neighborhood. I mean,
You've got a different neighborhood. I'm just saying this one almost seems like a ghost town. It could have something to do with the actual vibration of the area itself. But off the grid, I love being outside. I enjoy it. There's such a sense of freedom and such a sense of openness that I never stay inside off the grid. Even when we're done working for the day and we come home, I'll go inside, I'll cook dinner, but we'll hang out outside. We put up a little porch under the canopy there and on the the travel trailer we've got, and if we weren't there, we'd be sitting around the campfire.
Yeah, Judy and I, we sit out in the front now, or we have a screened-in porch on the back, or we'll sit out on the back deck, depending on the critters. But she gets eaten up. Mosquitoes don't bite me, but they'll attack her. And I don't know why that is. They probably know that one's poison. But here, but this
too much Michelinie's hot sauce there.
So, his pH is off, leave him alone. But, the funny thing is that sometimes I do sit there and I do think about that and I do go through that because it's a reality for me. I know in a couple of months I have a biopsy coming up. They're going to remove about, these granulomas and try to study them and figure out what the hell is going on with them. So I'm going to lose about an inch and a half on my right lung, and where it's at. But and that's a scary thought process. And of course, during the last surgery, I kept trying to tell the doctors, listen, because I'm allergic to so many different things. They wanted to give me this stuff called Twilight, and I was like, I will wake up. I will wake up. No. This puts everyone under. You think you're waking up. I woke up. Okay. And then they were like, oh, we had to fully sedate him because, he woke up. So now that's in the records. Now they'll remember, man wakes up. But
Yeah, I had the same thing happen with me, and it was because of all my trips to the hospital and all the drugs that they stuck in me. I had developed RSD after one incident, and that's a nerve disease where the pain just never stops. The pain is always there. The nerve, it's reflex sympathetic dystrophy, and your reflex nervous system carries on, keeps on sending the last message to the brain of injury. And so the brain translates everything as that part of your body is still injured. And so months after the fact, your brain is still getting the signal that you've got a fresh injury there. And that pain from that fresh injury just never goes away. It's absolutely terrible, and it goes into different stages. And they were able to arrest mine as it was transitioning from stage 1 to stage 2. But they just essentially beat you up with a massive amount of drugs that they pump into the affected area, and it was nightmarish, but it was something that I had to go through. But because of all of the things that they put into my body, when they go to put me under, as a matter of fact, when I had my stomach issue, they couldn't put me under deep enough in the outpatient clinic. They had, so the next time they needed to go look inside, well, all the next times they needed to go look inside were done at the hospital. And the first time we went to the hospital, I said, well, how come we're here not doing this procedure at the clinic? And they said, well, we can't put you under far enough at the clinic.
Yeah, and you know what? You laugh about that, but I'm going to tell you, this has happened to me. It's not the first time. And, I was, I'm one of those rare people, and it's a blessing and a nightmare at the same time, because I don't do well with narcotics. Therefore, I can't take narcotics because I have such bad reactions to them to where it can make me stop breathing and everything. My basic painkiller is Motrin, 800 milligrams, which I take every day. It has to be. And people that aren't familiar with lupus or whatever, or lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and fibromyalgia, I have a lot in common. Your nerve endings fire off. With lupus, your joints get, swelled and everything like that. But anyway, it all affects you pretty much. It's a lot of pain, and it can be a lot of pain. It makes you a little grouchy as you get older.
By the way, fibromyalgia, I just saw 2 days ago where they developed a cannabis patch that you put on for fibromyalgia.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's great
yep.
for them. For me, I do not like whatsoever, which is why I'm not a drinker and I'm not, drugs or anything. I can't have an altered state of mind. I
can appreciate that.
I get terrible migraines. Because I am not on a medication anymore for the first time in 28 years, I'm very skittish and nervous about taking anything. I really am. It's
Brother, trust me. I absolutely positively hate taking any kind of pill. I don't even like taking vitamin pills. My vitamins, I use bee pollen, but and I'm so glad about one simple thing, because as much pain as I've been in, at one time I had a standing prescription for hydrocodone, just your regular opiate generic drug there, which has caused the major epidemic.
I'm allergic to that one.
I get sick and it makes me itch.
Yeah.
When I had, before they diagnosed me with RSD, I went back to my doctor and said I had my arm injury. And I said, Doc, you got to give me a different prescription. These painkillers are worthless. And he thought I was becoming addicted to them. He gave me a different prescription, and same thing with there was another opiate-based piece of crap. And same thing, made me nauseous, made me itch. So I would only take them when I was like in extreme pain. And the third month that I went back and said, Doc, your pills are damn useless. Give me something different.
You know what? On that thought, guys.
That's when they sent me to go be checked out. He gave me one more prescription and sent me to a pain management doctor, and that's where they diagnosed me with RSD. But I can appreciate that altered state. I never liked getting drunk, so I don't drink. And obviously, my body doesn't like the opiates, and so there's limited things that can actually help me with my different conditions, and the one thing that does help is THC.
You know what?
Right. That eliminates so many of the prescriptions that they wanted to give me. It was like, you're out of your damn mind. And the one prescription that my doctor wanted to give me, because he didn't want to write me a prescription for Marinol is the actual name for it. Marinol is a synthetic THC. And this was several years ago. Well, I say several years ago. When was it? 2012, I think, is 2011. 2012 is when I had my stomach issue.
Hey, Peter.
I'm sorry. Prior to that. Go ahead.
Hold that thought. I'll tell you what. I want to get back to this because this is so important. And you know what? I know I have had very many fears about death and what am I going to do? How can I leave a positive, carbon fiber,
carbon footprint here. Don't worry about that.
Thank you. And I do want to talk a little bit more about the medicines too. But I'll tell you what. Why don't we take a break? Because I am out of coffee, and you know what? I really need that coffee right now.
There we go. There's your drug.
Yeah. So
Gotta get that caffeine going.
Exactly. So I'll tell you what, everyone. Why don't you give us about 5-10 minutes here, and please come on back, join us, and show us, don't tell us. Very interesting subjects. We need to cover this stuff. Maybe alleviate some of your fears, because I know talking about it helps alleviate mine. And, You know,
And death is not the last frontier. Death is a temporary situation, and we may not understand that, but we'll talk about that more on the other side of the commercial break. So stay with us.
Yes,
Yeah, I hear Stock in the background. Good heavens, perfect timing. Anyways, we'll be back in a jiffy.
Open Eyes Network now airs a live simulcast on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/Open Eyes Network, features not just our live content, but other videos as well, and is always active. So now you can tune in many different ways. Open Eyes Network shows air Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. Be sure to visit OpenEyesNetwork.com to find easy-to-use links to get to all of the places that you want to listen to our shows. And don't forget, all of our shows will now be archived as well on YouTube.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Open Eyes is dedicated to finding the truth in all matters. We are not afraid to be politically incorrect or to ask questions. Whether it is the paranormal, government cover-ups, the dark agenda that the puppet masters have in store for us, or aliens and UFOs, nothing remains hidden. Listen to Open Eyes, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LateNightInTheMidlands.com or OpenEyesNetwork.com. Open hearts, open minds, open eyes. Ben Franklin said, "If you do the same thing tomorrow as you did today, you're going to get the same tomorrow as you got today." Changing the world starts with you, and changing you starts with changing the way you think. Late Night in the Midlands can help. Listen to all of our shows at LateNightInTheMidlands.com, because things really do need to change.
This whole year is just flying by. Anyway, welcome back, gentlemen.
Well, I feel as though I'm lagging behind about like 5 to 10 minutes. I feel like I'm that third guy in that conversation. You know, that guy where all of a sudden you tell jokes and stuff.
The rising rate of autism is not just concerning, it's a disaster.
Have gone by. Yeah.
No matter what the cause
all right,
of
anyways, I wanted to interject earlier, but you guys are playing some pretty awesome game of ping pong there between yourselves. But anyways, all right, so anyways, what I wanted to toss in there is that back in the day, and I've seen documentaries on this, where people, they were considered, they were dead, right? And, I mean, it's not like a couple hours went by, maybe a day went by, and they would wake up in the mortuary, in the coroner's room, just wake up, man, naked, tagged, and everything, and all of a sudden, here I am, what am I doing in here, and it's like, holy smokes, and it's been documented, especially a lot of English people, as far as the documentaries I've seen.
Well, they used to actually put an attachment into the coffin just in case.
I was just going to say,
and you can ring a bell.
Saved by the Bell. I was just going to say that's where that term came from, Saved by the Bell. So you'd have somebody, that would hang around these new burials or whatever, that would hang out, and and if all of a sudden you woke up, can you imagine how crappy that would be? All of a sudden you wake. Now this would be Mike's. Well,
that's Mike's nightmare.
Yeah, right. But that's you're good to go. You got a bell to ring, dude. Ding, 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 and you'll be rescued shortly. Hang in there, one more lap. See, but that's why anymore. That's why they bring in an aspirator, they organ bust you and embalm you. So there's no way of that unfolding.
Yeah, not anymore. But I just want to touch back on where we left off is with medicines that they give us today, regardless of whether it's a small prescription for whatever the case might be, right on up to chemotherapy. I had said that Marinol, which is a synthetic THC, my doctor wouldn't write a prescription for. I couldn't get a doctor to write a prescription for Marinol. I couldn't figure this out. And the cost of, I tracked down the manufacturer and looked to doctors that they distribute to, and because it's not a highly manufactured drug, they do small runs, and a prescription for this with a discount. The cheapest price that I could get it at was still over $600, but I couldn't find a doctor to prescribe it, and that's for basically a monthly dose. What my doctor would describe, I can't remember the name of the medicine, but a monthly prescription was $3,300. The cheapest I could find that for was $2,600 a month. Think about that for a damn pill.
$2,600. Why? That's a bargain. Well, like these EpiPens. How do you get away with jacking up the price? I mean, come on, man.
Well, here's the. I'm a big pharma, and I know how the pharmaceutical industry works. I know you develop a specialty drug, you have to get it through testing, you have to get it through the FDA approval, and you have to make sure it doesn't have enough side effects where it's going to kill you. And it is a litigious process. The firm that I worked for years ago, just to do normal safety testing of products that we put out on the market was litigious, and you had to be careful about claims and all the other things that you said. And this wasn't even dealing anywhere near what the drug companies have to do. It is a multi-million-dollar investment in getting a drug just through the system. So they got to recoup their money somehow. But how do you survive? This isn't covered by any prescription medication by plan, and I checked around. I called up several different prescription, company plans, and I would ask, well, does your plan cover this drug? And nope, not on the plan.
Well, you know what's not going to be covered? Anything that's going to make you healthy. Big Pharma makes $0 off of a healthy individual.
Well, here's the thing, Barry, and this is one of the reasons that we chose to move to Maine, was just because, cannabis will do the exact same thing that this $3,000 drug will do.
Right. That's right.
And this is something else that I've learned since I've actually been back on the grid. There's a website called watercures.org. watercures.org. And what they're finding is that, and this is the simplest method, and it made so much sense to me. I remember one of my first biology classes, I watched a film about the blood, and they said that the closest thing to our blood is seawater. And so that's that's the closest thing to our blood as far as what our blood is doing within our body and the salinity of it and how much liquid it is. But that is the one thing, seawater, that we have in common. And let's face it, the earth is what? 75% water. Our bodies are about 80% water. You think there's a correlation there? So it's a simple cure. You eat sea salt. You have to go listen to what they're saying, because there's different ways of curing different things. But it comes down to putting sea salt in your body and drinking a pretty good amount of water. It's related to your actual body weight in ounces. 10% of your body weight in ounces is what you should drink a day, along with the salt. And essentially, it's like hooking up a saline solution to your body. You're flushing your body out. So you're putting pure water and sea salt, or I prefer Himalayan salt personally, but you're putting that through your body, and you're creating an electrolyte solution within your own body. And what most people walk around, and it doesn't make any difference how heavy they are or how skinny they are, but they walk around dehydrated, because we drink sodas and things like that, and the stuff that's never good for you, and we never drink enough water. And they've learned that they've treated stomach issues, they've treated heart issues, cancer, that they've treated with it. It's a matter of just flushing your organs in your body, and it works. It works. I said that I hate taking pills. Even vitamins. What I will do is eat bee pollen. Bee pollen is raw enzymes. They collect all the best parts of all the flowers when they're making their honey, and you are eating live enzymes and putting them into your body. And whenever I feel a little cold coming on, bang, I start with the bee pollen and pump that stuff right in. Honey products, right. Little royal jelly.
All right, Peter, let me ask you real quick. In regards to that bee pollen, according to what you use, unfortunately, you probably put a plug in for somebody that you know for a fact works. Can you throw it out there?
Go look if you want to get bee pollen. It's best to deal with somebody locally in your area. So if you're in California, get local bee pollen. However, if you don't have a source, you can find it online. Try to get it as local as you can. The people that I do business with are local in Pennsylvania. Honey 911 is how much more simple can you get? They've got some great products and they have excellent prices. So that's where I get my products from. Honey 911. So doing natural things will do more for our body than tying us up with these prescription pills and products that carry these side effects that range from everything. I love the one pill they say, take this pill, and I believe it's like for depression or something like that. Side effects are everything up including suicide and death. Yeah, right. It's like, why do I want to take something that has a side? One of the side effects is death.
Peter, every freaking commercial you'll see is like that. Not only that, and then you'll see an attorney commercial after that.
Have you taken this product? Call us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I wish they would ban pharmaceutical commercials from TV, and I'm so glad. That's one thing I don't miss in not having a TV is the pharmaceutical commercials. They're worse than the tobacco commercials that used to be played up until the 1970s. At least tobacco, surgeon general says this causes cancer. At least they come right out. So now it's your choice if you want to smoke or not.
Yeah, go for the low birth weight ones, folks. You got to get the low birth weight ones. Stay away from the cancer ones, and get the smokes that have the low birth weight.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But what they contain? Spermicide in them? Yeah.
But at least you know that the product is dangerous, and no doctor is saying, "Here, smoke this. It'll help cure whatever the case might be," and. It's like, here, take this pill. And by the way, this might kill you because one of the side effects is death. It's like, seriously?
Yeah, it's a minute side effect. It's a subliminal side effect. Yeah, you'll have that. What are you gonna do?
Let's see. I never saw any side effect or warning label on a pack of, on a container of bee pollen. I never saw any warning label on a bottle of water. Although I wouldn't drink the water in Flint, Michigan. Those are natural things. And the more that we can do to keep our bodies in a natural state, the better off we'll be. We don't have to worry about this pill interacting with that pill and that pill causing this problem, this pill causing the other problem. I lived with my grandparents when I was 19. I lived with them for not quite a year. And they went through this daily ritual of lining up all their pill bottles, and it was like, are you serious? Yeah.
Right.
That just it disgusted me. I'm glad my grandparents lived as long as they did. My grandfather lived to 86. My grandmother lived to 95. But I don't know how the hell they got that far, being fed all this pharmaceutical crap.
Well, and it brings me back, and I was thinking this earlier, because I do have, a lot of thoughts, and you do, being ill. Right now, believe me, I've a lot of people get embarrassed, but I take away the stigma. With autoimmune, your body can't fight things. So I've been fighting shingles for over a week, and I don't have a huge, it's bad enough that it makes me feel like my whole one side is just, it's awful. And
I understand it's extremely painful. I've never had it.
It ain't fun.
But let me ask you a question here, Mike. How much water do you drink a day?
All I drink is water. I do not drink sodas. I quit sodas a long time ago. It's a very blue.
Okay, how much water are you putting into your body a day?
I would say.
Answer the question, Michael. Jeez, oh man. Yeah.
I'm thinking about it, but probably around 5 glasses of water, and then of course coffee. And then I drink.
No, I don't want to know about coffee or anything else.
About
just pure H2O.
Answer the question.
a pint, a quart, 2 quarts, a gallon?
It's probably just under a gallon. And I will also say see, it's important to know I have 3 things that I drink. So I will have water, I will have coffee, or I will have cranberry juice, which I'm a big...
Once again, how much water?
Again, I will answer just under a gallon.
Now, are you taking any salt along with the water?
No, I will not. No.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because salt has been one of those things genetically in my family that has cursed everyone else. I am the only one that has not done the salt, but you have to understand, my chemistry is so different from theirs. They have high cholesterol, heart problems, and everything like that. I don't. I have an autoimmune disease, and my autoimmune is I'm one of the 0.6% white males out of the 10% of males that get lupus. So water is a huge factor for me. I just filled up my glass before I left work, yesterday. And so that when I come in the morning, I have it's almost like it's one of those big turvy things. So I'll drink that first, fill up another one, put it in there, but I'll probably have 3 or 4 of those during the day. And then I'll come home, and when I eat a meal, one of the biggest things that I do is I have a glass of water first, then I eat and have water, during my meal. Water's been a huge thing. It helped me lose weight. It's made me feel better. But back to the other with the shingles and everything like that. There's been a lot of things because I thought I had this just about licked last year in October or November. Was the first time in 12 years that I had tested with no positives whatsoever. And then the very next test they did, I tested with the low positive again. But for about a month, I was in euphoria thinking, wow, I've got this beat. And I'm winning this battle. Unfortunately, I'm not. So the pharmaceutical companies I cut in half. And the way I did it is that I was on all these different antidepressants for the PTSD and trying to deal with everything and nightmares and anxiety, that one of my veteran brothers, Jeff Rhodes, had finally, my wife called him because I was having an allergic reaction, came over and said, you got to get off of this shit, man. He goes, you got it. You have got to get off of this stuff. And he goes, and deal with this. And he said, I'll be right here. And he has been. So anytime I get really stressed out, there's one guy I know that I could count on for anything, and that's Jeff Rhodes. That man. Well,
that's because of his empathy, man. I mean, you two guys are like two peas in a pod to a certain extent, but there's a lot of empathy going on, and he's ahead of you, man. Yeah, he's there for you.
Well, Jeff's been he's been through a lot, man. He is the ultimate. I mean, he is just the epitome of soldier. That guy's been shot, blown up, everything else, and I'm going to tell you, strong as the Hulk, I'm not sure would give him a good fight. He's something else. I mean, this guy runs, he does Spartan stuff, okay, the Spartan races and everything. He's like 42 years old. He just had a birthday, as a matter of fact, but he's like 42 years old. And I'm going to tell you something. Jeff was in the top 10 in the world. Do you know what that takes to be in the top 10 in that race? I'm going to tell you, he's always been right there. He was, I think at one point number 8 or something like that. I could be wrong, maybe, or even the top 20. But he's always been there. So when I got off of that, I chopped the pharmaceutical thing like right in half. And then I said, I'm getting off of everything. So I got off of every single medicine, which my doctors were not very happy about. And,
Well, yeah. They're not making money off it.
Well, they're making money, but they were right. Let me tell you, everything kind of came back. And it came back with a vengeance, and it's been a very long year. And, now there's some things that I know they take advantage of us on. But going back, because of all my fears and all these things, and I have sat there, and even though I love helping veterans, God knows I love veterans, and I for some reason they've just reached my heart, and I guess maybe being one, but they've reached my heart, and I always worry about them. I carry a lot of anxieties, and I do think of death here and there more, but I understand I have a mental disability. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm bipolar 2. I have anxiety. I have ODD. I have IED. I have ADHD.
Well, you're just freaking nuts, Michael, I tell you.
Well, hey, listen, I am. And certain things more now frighten me about death. And so I started thinking, I don't want to be...
Guys like us keep you in line. You're good to go.
I don't want to be in that box. I don't want to be cremated. So I said, okay, what's the best way to do this and ease everybody else at the same time?
Tell everybody. No, you filled me in earlier this morning. Tell everybody how you feel about that, because that was interesting. Because I'm actually thinking about it.
Well, I thought, okay, so I don't want to lay a financial burden on my family, and it would, and people are like, well, you could get insurance and it could cover it. You know what? I'm living paycheck to paycheck like everybody else right now, from this mess that we've created for ourselves. And I decided that, I don't want to be buried. The thought of somebody putting me in a suit and everything, in a tie, and putting me in a box frightens the shit out of me. I'm not a suit guy, okay? I am jeans. I am a t-shirt kind of guy, for one. Okay, I want to be comfortable.
Listen real quick, Michael. Now, my cousin, who's 2 months older than me, he passed away when he was 50. 2 months older than me, right? He was born in July of '64, right? He was a huge NASCAR fan. He wore all NASCAR hat, NASCAR everything. It was different. Not only that, he loved 4th of July, and he was laying there. He had bottle rockets in his hand in his coffin. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, it was different. It was different. Yep.
Yeah, it's so I've decided that is what I'm going to do is I want to give everything that I could possibly give to other people. So my eyes are good. If I can give my eyes, if they perfect this, hand stuff, my hands are okay now, so if I give those, if I give, if my liver stays well, I know they probably can't give my lung. That's just the way my lungs are. They just can't. But but kidneys or anything that they can salvage to give somebody else and extend their life, I'm for that. I want to do that. I'm not living till I'm 70 if I can give, and my heart's good. So, and I've always been very active. So, even with what I have. So if I can carry somebody else that, okay, they're 30 and they need a transplant and they can live till they're 60 or 70, then I've lived to be 100 or more. Because if they have my eyes and they can see, and let's say they live from 30 to 70, that's 40 years, and I only live to 70, well, from my point, from 70 and 40, that's 110. So I look at it in that aspect, and then for the rest of me, donate it to science. This way they can study. Maybe they can find a cure. Maybe they can find something inside of me, that can be useful, or put myself on one of those farms to help catch criminals, murderers and stuff like that. I have no problem doing that. They call one place the farm in Tennessee. Well, they'll put your body outside. That's perfect for me, man. I get to overlook the landscape and everything else. And, it seems much better for me to be comfortable rather than being cremated, put in a box, or buried somewhere where...
Well, now you're speaking about one of those forensic sites where they place you in different scenarios.
Yes.
And so that way, yeah, right. That way it makes it easier for them to identify certain situations in regards to the murders and in regards to the forensic scenario.
Yeah, everybody thinks of forensics so differently, and it's very funny, and it's such a vast, you know, open area. I mean, open, you know, group there, because when you're put out in one of those things, they can tell from the time that certain insects that come out of your body, or flies or whatever, bot flies, whatever they are, you know,
Maggot.
how long that stuff, you know, maggots and everything like that, how long that stuff it goes through its time period to become fully, you know, an adult from, you know, the very smallest.
Right.
What kind of elements outside the leaves will maybe this grass only forms at this place at this time for this long, and he was killed in this area. Okay, great. Now we can attribute it to, hey, we know it happened here, and he was put over here because only this is over there. I mean, it's really incredible.
Well, it comes down to time frame.
Exactly.
I mean, really, I mean, in regards, what's that going to identify as probably time frame? You know?
Everything is a tale in this world, and it is. Everything.
The dead can...
Everything is. They, you know, we just haven't discovered everything, but I'm just going to tell you, everything. That's how God knows everything. He knows every hair in your head. He knows every hair in your head because he knows everything and how it all works together with everything else at any moment. So, you know, I looked at it, and you know, that's the way I felt more comfortable. And I've got to go out of here helping somebody rather than just existing. And then, you know, Peter, you said it, you know, the guy's walking down the street and he's turning around looking for him. I'd rather inspire hope than giving somebody closure of, well, he's already dead and gone. That's my thought. Yeah, I'd rather.
Skillzzz said that.
You know, Skillzzz, that's it.
Well, that's okay though. Not an issue. It was said. We're all on the same page here.
Yeah, give credit to Skillzzz, but I would rather. I would rather. I don't know, man. I just don't. I feel like, and when I get down to that final point, there's gonna be more, and I want to leave something positive rather than the negative. I just that's the way I've always felt, and I know a lot of people are like, hey, I want to go to the grave and visit him. My brother's death is so traumatic to me and bothered me so much, and my father's. Going there and seeing them in the ground, trapped, and knowing it's a finalization, is very, very, very difficult for me to do. I have a very hard time still dealing with everything, and we're coming up on 30 years. You know, this next year. This is 29 years. So, yeah, it's a long time, but to me, it's fresh in my memory. I mean, I still have dreams here and there of everything that happened, and I can't get them out of my mind. And it's one of those things that it frightens me. And, you know, but doing that is less frightening to me in my mind. So I have to think, and I know, Peter, you said that your body's just a vessel. It might be, but, you know...
Hey, none of us like to see the vessel sink.
Well, no,
you know,
I'm a Navy man. I can appreciate that.
You know, here's an interesting thing though. We're talking about you know the final moments that we have and what we want to do to make sure that our last wishes are carried out, and we've all faced that situation. And Lord knows, for somebody who hasn't been in a combat situation, I faced death a lot of times, and it doesn't frighten me at all. It is actually a peaceful side to it, having been there once before. And it's a very interesting process in itself. But here's the thing. We live at a time period of fantastically great change. As a matter of fact, what the conversation was with Alfred Weber today, or yesterday technically now, was about what we are facing as far as the things that are happening on this world with CERN and its connection to the last days because of what they intend to do with CERN, or what they claim is going to be done with CERN. And let's face it, CERN has the numbers 666 and Shiva attached to it. So you've got the mark of the beast and the destroying angel, or the destroyer. It's called Apollyon in the scriptures. And so we are close because of what this potentially can do. We know we are close to the end of this system of evil. And it's incredible. We're gonna hear some fantastic things coming out within the next year, and we're gonna see some fantastic things happening that are all tied in right with biblical prophecy, and we'll see it happening right before our eyes. But here's the point: millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of people who are alive right now will never, ever taste death. They will never, ever taste death. Think about this. This is a time of transition when we are leaving a system that is based on nothing but lies and evil, and they go straight on up to the Vatican. I don't care how you slice it. As a matter of fact, I would get ready for news about the Vatican and the globalists coming down the pike. That's all I'll say about that right now. But the corruption goes right on up to the mother of all religions and the mother of all corporations, which is indeed the Holy See or at the Vatican. Once we see these things happening, we know that there is a very short amount of time left, and I'm talking this could all be over by 2020, which isn't that far away. And guys, we're talking 3 years. 3 years. That makes me 64 years old, makes you guys in your 50s somewhere. Long, long way from death. Long way from death.
Maybe.
Well, hey, I should have never lived to see 19.
Listen, that's the point, though, okay? The point is that, okay, even with all this stuff, and everybody today is fearing all this stuff. They're doing this, but a lot of this, with myself, for some reason, this stuff doesn't faze me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I understand that. My biggest thing is that when you're faced with it yourself at the point in time that you are, what is your response going to be? How are you going to let everything affect you? Do you realize today, with everything that's going on, my God, this is such a corrupt world, and we know this. We know this without a doubt. We know where a lot of it is coming from. Some people have too much bloody money, okay, and too much influence and power, and that's where a lot of this crap is starting from. But what do you do?
This whole power thing, especially with the Rothschilds, how much money is too much money? And what would drag somebody into controlling people in amount of power? What's the mindset on that? In other words, all right, let me ask both of you a question. All right, if you all of a sudden, bang, you could wake up tomorrow, you have a choice. You could have all this money and all this power. Would you do it? Would you do it?
No.
Yeah, right. Why not? Why not?
Well, because of two things. One, it's money isn't. You can't worship two gods. You can't worship money and mammon. You can't worship God and money. Money being mammon. So, for me, it's the life I choose to live is one where I'm going to help people. I don't believe that anybody with an overabundance of money has any intention whatsoever in any shape, way, or form of truly wanting to help people. I don't believe that. Somewhere along the line, they are trying to say, I've got this money, and let me show you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to help people. But are they doing that in all honesty to help? Or
let's take a look at one thing. See, here's to answer that question in my personal view. Yeah, I'll take the money and I'll take the power, and I'll tell you why.
However, go ahead, Peter.
The reason why, there's no however to it, because however is like but. It cancels out everything that you said before. I'll take the money, and the reason why, the money and the power, because I could do more with it. Hey, if I had an unlimited source of income, I could turn around and I could go rent a stadium, have everybody come to it, and talk to masses of people. I could put up my own TV station if I wanted and talk to masses of people, as opposed to talking to just a few people on the internet here. And
this will be now, Peter, of course.
This is true, yes, Peter.
But now here's the other side of the coin. Those people who have made huge amounts of money in today's world, it takes maybe somebody who doesn't live at their level of wealth is maybe Warren Buffett. He still lives in a middle-class neighborhood, still lives in the same house he had for like 30 years. He doesn't live in some castle. His house would fit in almost any neighborhood, but it's what we do with it. See, in this world, to amass that amount of money, the amount of evil that you have to create to get to that point is unbelievable. So you have to be so self-centered and so narcissistic that you are willing to step on the heads of whomever you want in order to attain that goal. That's the way the system is set up today. And so we who are not part of the system do not have that money, do not have those resources available, unless we're a trust baby somehow. But so we're left with nothing, and we speak from the heart, even though we have very little.
Here, let me interject something, okay? I'm just going to play devil's advocate. And
go ahead.
Please don't take it the wrong way. I don't mean anything like that, but I do want to say something. Okay, so you woke up the next morning. You have this money. You have this power. And you're ready to build this stadium and speak to the masses. Okay? But my thing is, at that point in time, for me, if I can save just one, okay, it's worthwhile. Because maybe that one will save somebody else. I don't need the masses. Right. I don't need any of that. If you think about how Christ traveled around, never in a stadium. I mean, he went to somebody's house and somebody washed his feet. She washed his feet. And the mother was in the kitchen so busy cooking and everything. And he said, listen, the message is here. Come on out here. Don't worry about feeding me. I'm good, man. Come here and listen to the message. While you're cooking and cleaning and doing all this stuff and worrying about all this stuff to impress me, your daughter's over here. She washed my feet. She's listening to what I'm telling her.
Okay, now here's your answer, Mr. Devil's Advocate. What about when Jesus fed, was it 5,000, as the scriptures put it, with leftovers? Yeah, now 5,000 were not the whole entire group. The 5,000 that were counted were the family heads, which basically would mean that there was at least 15,000 people there.
But they didn't. But Jesus had powers, okay, but it wasn't something that he acquired in that manner. And it wasn't a stadium. It was, okay.
He had Holy Spirit working on his side. I've got to use modern technology.
Yeah, that's right.
There's the difference.
That's right. There it is. There's the difference.
I've spent the last 10 years, basically, on the internet enlightening. That's been my full-time job, enlightening people. And so I've used the modern technology that we have in order to accomplish that. I've reached millions of people where Jesus only preached to Judea. Now, we know based on what the population, the approximate population was of Judea during that time period, based on the recording from the historian Josephus Flavius, I believe it was the second name. And he had recorded that during the time that Titus took Jerusalem, there were over 2 million people in the city. So this was during Passover, so all the Jews would have traveled back to Jerusalem from wherever they were and populated the city during Passover. So there were 2 million people there that Jesus had to deal with that were of the Jewish or that were Israelites of the Jewish faith. And he didn't talk to anybody except for the Samaritan, the incident with the Samaritans. Those were the only other people that he preached to during that 3.5 year time period. So here's where, we have the advantage of modern technology. So if we have the resources, I mean, if I handed Mike Vera $100,000, what do you think he would do with it?
Well, let me ask you.
Build out the radio station.
Oh, okay. And that is one of the reasons that we get on the radio, and of course that we have you on and everything is definitely because we want to make the world better. But here's the funny thing about it. If we were doing such a bang up job, regardless of the size of the radio station or the people that we reached, we wouldn't be in the shithole we're in today. There's the difference. At least with no technology, no money, no power except for the Holy Spirit, which is the ultimate power. I understand God being the ultimate power, but the thing is that when he reached people, he reached it in such a way that was for himself, and through the biblical thing, that it has lasted over forever. Forever. And see, we can't do that as man. We'll say Peter Kling was a good man. He reached a lot of people and tried to help a lot of people. But yet, people today still knowing what they know. Okay? Not just hearing about it. We know it to be true. And yet, we have ISIS. We have Syria. We have Israel.
Yeah.
We have Pakistan. We have
Well, that all comes out of the
whole mess that we
but
have.
here's the situation. Here's the situation. The reason why we have those things is because of the system of evil in which we're forced to live in.
You had evil back then too. You're going to have it no matter what.
Yeah.
He even stomped the snake. Come on.
But here's the thing. Let's take a look at the population density. I'm going to take a guess. Now, I haven't done the research to find out what the approximate world population was 2,000 years ago, but I'm going to take a guess and say it was probably somewhere around 500 million.
And so 500 million people, going by your population, 500 million people, even then,
more than
okay, even hearing then, all right, and looking at it today, you would think that we would learn something. We know
you would think so, but here's the situation that we're in today, and it's manipulation. It's manipulation of the masses, and this has been going on seriously for well over 200 years. And we can track it down to one family. We can track down this system of evil seriously to one single family. And that's the Rothschild family. And if you don't believe me, go do the research on their family history. They have manipulated this planet more in the last 200 years for the evil than any other family on the planet, to the best of my knowledge and what I could find out historically. And we're talking about people who have created wars and have subsidized wars pretty much since the days of Napoleon. Rothschild.
350 billion and 1.2 trillion. Go ahead, Peter.
But no matter what.
Yeah, well, that number's greatly underestimated. If you look at the wealthiest people of the world, you never see the Rothschilds on that list.
Okay, but
never.
But even so, and I get what you're saying. I do. I get what you're saying. My point is that no matter what, you're always going to have evil here. Okay, and
not always. It's limited. It's here for a limited engagement only.
This is God's world. God created it in 6 days. He rested on the seventh day. Okay, at no time, I don't care what anyone says. I went back. I looked back in the Bible. At no time did anyone give it to the devil. He just kind of took over and said, "Hey, it's mine." It's not his. Okay. It's not his. It never.
Actually, yes, it is.
It's not his. It is
Oh,
not. I have looked in
what,
the
the
Bible.
world?
That fellas.
The world or the world or the Bible?
I have looked in the Bible. I have went through there, and at no time he influences this world. There's a big difference between ownership and influence. Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Let's go to one scripture.
You go to the scripture. I got my study Bible right here. I kept it out as a matter of fact. It's the New Open Bible, King James Version, study edition. You tell me where, and I'm going to tell you. I can show you another spot that says that's why Jesus never even disputed it with him when he said, "Hey, all this that you can see, you can have."
Okay, right there. That's exactly where I was going to go. When during the testing of Jesus after he came out of the wilderness, where the scripture says that Satan had taken Jesus to a high area and he showed him all the kingdoms of the world, and he said, "If you bow down to me and give me one act of worship, I shall give you all of this." If it didn't belong to him, how could he give it? And what was Jesus' response? It wasn't, "Oh, you don't own these, Satan. How can you give them to me?" He said, "No, it is Yahweh your Father that we must worship.
That's right.
And so he put Satan right in his place, and then
that's right. He said it is Yahweh.
But if he didn't have control or didn't own, and that was the whole reason for Jesus' death, was to end Satan's control on this planet. Or of this planet.
Well, and again, that's not the only thing. The thing is to let everyone on the planet know you will be forgiven. I am here to sacrifice myself for you. You know what I mean? Did I lose you guys?
Nope. You guys are playing ping pong. I'm waiting, unless you lost Peter. But
I'm looking. I hope not.
You're looking indeed, as you are, you will see. I don't know, man.
Taking a look. I don't know if I lost them. But my point is that Yahweh owns this world. It's his. It's his. And Peter's right. I mean, in a lot of ways, what he's saying is true. Yahweh does. He put him in his place, but I firmly believe that thing just has taken over this place, kind of like a gang, and that's it.
You're right.
And that's I guess that's my thing. Let me see, where's our call thing here?
Peter, are you there, mister?
I don't know. Uh-oh. Something must have happened. I'm trying to.
Oh, he was on Skype.
Yeah, I'm trying to find him here. He was here somewhere.
Oh, here? I don't know.
Yeah, it might have. I'm trying to add him back. No, it says.
Anyways, hey, now might be a good time for a break, and then the long haul, man.
Yeah.
We're at 150, and then we'll go to the kids scenario.
Hey, thank you. My computer froze up.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost
all of a sudden everything just locked up, and I was like, no.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yep.
We're gonna take a quick break anyway, and we'll come back and hit some more of this, and we'll slide in here and go down the direction of children of today and everything, but. Why don't we go ahead and let's hit this break? And by the way, I wanted to let everyone know, our music that we kind of go into is www.bensound.com. Thank you again for letting us use the music here. We're grateful for that. So we'll be right back Tuesday morning. It is May 2nd, gentlemen.
Guys and gals, we will be back in a jiffy.
The rising rate of autism is not just concerning, it's a disaster. No matter what the cause of it is something that everyone should be acutely aware of and actively helping out those in the community that have it. That is why Adventures in Autism was created. Adventures in Autism is a show inspired by our life with our son Seth, and the many experiences his autism has brought to our lives. Each episode we bring you the topic of the week, news about autism, and resources to help you and your family or friends out in their own adventures with autism. Tune in Mondays at noon and midnight on lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com and get involved in the community. Let our experiences be an inspiration to you.
Attention L&M Radio Network listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the L&M Radio Network by calling 605-562-4203? No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 605-562-4203 to listen to the L&M Radio Network on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall. The Late Night in the Midlands radio network is deeply devoted to you, the listener. We feel it is necessary to bring you all of the information that you can use in your life. Each and every day you will find something to listen to here. And whether you come away from the shows informed, inspired, or entertained, it is our passion. We don't bow to corporations, and we don't have handlers to tell us what not to talk about. We bring you everything. Late Night in the Midlands, however, is fully listener supported. We need your help to stay on the air and to make sure that we get the bills paid. We need your help to keep the truth alive. If you feel that you have gotten anything out of Late Night in the Midlands, we would appreciate your support. You can become a subscriber and help us out on a monthly basis, or if you'd like, a one-time donation is fully appreciated as well. Every year, the average household in America spends over $3,000 on entertainment alone. If you could help us with just a tiny fraction of that amount, you would make all of the difference. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com and click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and as always, keep yourself informed.
Just flying by. Anyway, welcome back, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Hey,
and here,
I was just going to say before we get started, if you don't mind, Skillzzz, I do want to say one thing. Mike, we were talking about water before, and I had mentioned the website watercures.org. You do drink a decent amount of water. There's no doubt about that. The one thing that they say is water and salt, and in some cases some sugar. But the reason for the salt is, and it's unprocessed salt, unprocessed sea salt. I prefer Himalayan salt. It's the oldest, most purest salt on the planet, basically. And it's got every mineral that is on this planet in it. But the reason for the salt is we need the electrolytes. In other words, that salt gives a charge to the water, and once we ingest it, it now lets our body do what it needs to do better. Just drinking water drives the electrolytes out of our body. It's using that sea salt, and it's important that it's sea salt, or Himalayan pink salt works even better, but that's not readily accessible to everybody. You got to special order that.
Cool.
And that is the reason for the combination of both. The electrolytes allow our body to do what it needs to do in order to repair itself. But check out that website. You'll find it interesting, and I've done, I don't have anything what I would consider ultra major that's going on, just simple things. But I've followed the advice from that website, and I found myself drinking more water, eating the Himalayan sea salt, and feeling better all the way around. If I have a little stomach issue, sea salt or the pink Himalayan salt, and I'll drink a pint of water. So it's a matter of just keeping our body in a more natural state. It's like a pond. A pond, if there's no water flowing into it and no water flowing out of it, well, then it's technically a lake once that happens. But a pond will get stagnated from lack of water flow. And it's the same thing with our bodies. We start to get, once our bodies get stagnated, that's when we have dis-ease start to build up. But there's, we're under attack as it is, and it's a miracle that we've made it this far, to say the least. Anyway, gentlemen, go ahead.
Yep. I'll tell you what. Why don't we we'll shift gears a little bit here.
Yeah, buddy. Go ahead.
And it is time to shift that gear. So I'll tell you what. Yep. Let's talk about. I want to get in and talk about our kids. And the reason for it is that as we're seeing the world change today, and with everything that has influenced them, from all the electronics to all this other crap to what they're eating and everything else, I'm finding as a parent that, there's, I knew being a dad was going to be tough. I understood that. I wanted the challenge. I wanted, to carry on, with our seeds as we speak. I think we all do. And, leave a positive impact on this world. But today I'm looking at it, it's such a challenge, and I'm looking at this and I'm finding now, oh my God, there is going to be no peace in sight. Is when I look at my two youngest boys, they really are testing beyond all imagination for me. They're just they're testing me. And my oldest son, I know things are going to be changing for him. Are we going to be taking care of them forever? Until we leave here, to where we haven't enjoyed anything for ourselves?
Good luck with that. The problem is when they rely on tailcoats, and it's like they have this assumption, well, the old man's going to be around forever. Really? Yeah, well, I thought my Superman was going to be around forever, such as your Superman. Survey says, yeah. I'll tell you what, you better step up to the plate and get it on. You're being groomed, or should be being groomed, to step up to the plate.
Well, I've always tried to teach these kids, you don't give up, you don't do any of that, and I've got two of them, and I look at the different things that have affected them. The school system has definitely let them down to some extent, and I blame the school system for a few things, but I blame them too, because they're ultimately responsible also. And I understand that they have some medical conditions that play a part
that's
in
a freaking can of worms, for God's sakes, Michael, because now it's all about the money. Well, gee, your kid needs extra help, and we got to place them in that scenario because we're not going to get extra money. It's sickening. It's all about money. I'm so sick and tired. That's why I love, like Peters wants to get back and get off the grid, throw your cell phone away, TVs, radios, everywhere, and then see ya. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And in Peter's case, we don't need him off the grid. We need Peter right where he's at, trying to talk to people and talk some common sense into him, because his message is a wonderful message, and it's good. But with the kids, they were into sports, okay, and the school said, well, now that you're not doing well in school, we're going to kick you out of the sports. Okay. Well, but they had a learning disability, so you punished them. You took them out of the sports. Then the kids had nowhere to go with, and they were proud to be in those sports. So then they got into a bad crowd. So now I'm dealing with kids that are in a bad crowd because they don't want to feel like outsiders, and they didn't make it in the sports. And everybody knows they didn't make it in the sports because they were removed from the sports. So they're basically put up on a case and said, here you go. This is what happens to you when you do bad. They were punished. Okay? And yet the school system takes money, federal money, and says, well, they've got this IEP, individual educational program or protocol, whatever. And I'm going to tell you, except for it got too much for them. And they didn't realize the kids they were dealing with because they weren't trained in dealing with the kids with what they have. And now, well, they let them fall through the cracks. And, of course, as they're like, well, we're trying to do everything we can for your child, so the kid don't want to go to school. So now you're facing, charges. And these jackasses actually sent me a paper saying, okay, if your child misses any more school, well, if you put him in school and you're not able to teach him or whatever, and then you get mad at him, so you suspend him and you send him home, and then you turn around and hit us with a piece of paper saying, okay, your child is not there, and you put us in that spot. I mean, the lunacy, the absolute lunacy that goes with this. And these are grown adults that you're dealing with.
The problem is when you have to currently waste your time with illegitimacy. That's the part that pisses me off.
Oh.
It's like, hey, look, so I have to waste my time out of my day to plumb you goofy pricks up, bottom line.
I had the psychologist at the school. I want you to know, the psychologist who, I had to actually lock my son up at one point because he had gotten so out of hand and everything had happened that I put him up in the 7th floor at Baptist down here so that we could get him diagnosed. I did that for his benefit because I didn't know what the hell we were dealing with. And that's when we found out he had intermittent explosive disorder, which is IED, and gave him a medication. Well, they had already taken him out of the sports. They had already put him in an alternative school. They had already done this thing, okay, under the great tutelage of the principal and all these people and the psychologist. You people didn't know jack shit, okay? You weren't trained in it. And then the psychologist was like talking about going against what the doctor up there had diagnosed. And I said, wait a minute, man. You are a school psychologist. You are not in private practice. You have not been in practice. You've been at the school dealing with kids. So the background of you compared to this doctor who deals with these troubled kids day in, day out, 24 hours a day, I'm going to take his advice. Okay? It's not to be disputed. I have the letter. I have the information. And I was so just upset trying to feed this man's ego. Finally, I just looked at him and I asked him all. I said, how many courses?
Ego.
Yeah.
Don't have room for frickin' egos, man.
How many courses? Guess how many courses those people had been to that they could tell me about IED.
Oh, really?
Donut, baby. Donut. And I said, put these in with kids.
The best thing I ever did, Michael, at Cleveland State University, and my major was psychology, was pull the frick out of there. Last thing I want to do is go through it, as Sigmund Freud, well, he was a half-assed nut, for 50-minute sessions, smoke a cigar. He smoked 13 cigars a day, pretty much died of throat cancer. He had his own personal doctor. That's irrelevant. But, I mean, Dr. Rogers, that's the guy that introduced empathy. That's when the women began falling in love with their psychologist. Empathy. It's like, this is a doctor, a knight in shining armor. I'm going off on a tangent, but go ahead.
Yeah, it got to that point that now I am, I've been dealing with drugs. We have been dealing with just, they're very hard to deal with. And the funny thing is, the two of them stick together. So, not only are they brothers and everything, but they both have these common problems and everything, and can relate to each other and everything else. Trying to get them off of this dark road and get them back, for their GEDs and everything, and explain to them, listen, man, it ain't little games anymore. This is where you're going to be paying the big boy prices and going to prison. This isn't a matter of going to DJJ, which is no pleasure trip anyway, but now you could be going to big places. So, just the logic with them that they've missed, and of course the education too. But the education was set up to fail, and I have so
set up for money, Michael.
I have so many bad words for the person that invented Common Core because I just want to punch you in the head.
Let me pipe up here for a moment.
Yep.
I've raised 6 kids. Well, 5 kids anyway. One was kind of stolen from me, but whatever. I was there for his early years. There's you're limited to what you can do, and I'm just glad it seems like this boy has landed on his feet after all he's been through. But the first 2 were quite interesting. I had two boys, and the first one was very easy to deal with. He got things right away. The second one, definitely a challenge. But this is what I noticed. I knew I was in for a challenge before this child reached its first birthday. I came down one Saturday morning. I remember like it was yesterday because I had sharpened all the knives. I had them all nice and sharp and put them away the night before. And I come walking down the stairs, and here's this toddler who's less than a year old, and he's you know how you always have one set of one cabinet that's got all drawers in it? Well, he was climbing. He had pulled the bottom drawer all the way out, and the next drawer out almost as far, and the third drawer he had out, and he had his fingers up in the top drawer where all the nice sharp knives were. And all I could think of is bloody fingers, and I ran down the stairs and snatched them off the drawers, and I'm, what's this kid doing to begin with? And I realized there was a bag of chocolate chip cookies on the counter. He had come down the stairs, and he opened up the drawers to make his own stairs to get on top of the counter to get the cookies.
Climbing the mountain, baby.
Before he was a year old. And once I realized what his objective was, I thought instantly, I am going to have to stay one step ahead of this child his whole life. Seriously, that's what I thought at that time.
But see, that was a smart kid. What I'm trying to tell you is,
let's fast forward the clock. Okay, he's second grade at the first and second grade in school, and we're getting all these reports back. Your son's got ADHD, and he's got this. We want to test him, and I'm telling my wife, let him do all the testing that they want. I'll tell you right now, there's nothing wrong with this kid. He's just too smart. He's smarter than the teachers that are trying to teach him. And he's bored as hell. He doesn't have ADHD because he comes home from school and he spends 2 hours down in the basement making arrowheads that he could sell to the kids on the bus the next day. If he had ADHD, we could never do that.
No, that's capitalism at its finest.
Yeah. He had already, he had heard stories about his uncle, how his uncle used to turn around and sell stuff to the kids, and he thought about that, and he got into making it for some reason. I mean, he's in second grade. He was making arrowheads, taking them to school, and selling them to kids on the bus. Are you serious? Yeah. And so they do all this test, and they come back and they say, well, he's got an IQ of 141. I was like, gee, big surprise there. So, but I had a ride herd on him his whole time through school. And we had some difficult times. I actually, we moved to Pennsylvania, the choice was to keep him in school in New York. And I literally drove him to school every morning and picked him up every evening. I put almost 50,000 miles on a brand new car just hauling his butt back and forth to school. But this is also the child that when he was 22, I looked at his W-2 form and I said, "You're sending too much money to the government. You better build a house." And this is the kid that they said they had HD, they labeled him with all this stuff, and they wanted to treat him in this way so they can, and you're right, it has to do with money, because once they label a kid as being learning disabled, the state of New York changes what they give the school from, at that time it was about $35,000 per student per year, up to $54,000 per student per year. The Hasidic community figured this out real quick because they labeled all their kids ADHD or learning disabled in one form or fashion, and their whole closed school system gets almost $60,000 a year per child.
Let me interject something here.
Go ahead.
And to all those parents out there, if your child has an IEP, okay, and it's a full-blown IEP, it's not just something that helps them a little bit. There's different forms of it. You sit in every meeting. You go to every single meeting. And when these people start to talk and they want to talk about his education, I want you to understand something. They are not on your side. They are not on your child's side. Your child is a number. It is a figure. Do you understand? Because even if your kid drops out, they've already collected the money that came from that year. So
absolutely,
their headache is gone. He's your headache. You understand?
My youngest son, I get a call from his teacher one day, and now this is he's much like his older brother. He's my second most intelligent child, although he's got an attitude problem. But his teacher it was actually an assistant teacher that gives me a call and tells me about his day in class. And I said, "Ma'am, how long did you have him in your class today?" She said, "Well, the class runs for about 45 minutes. I said, "Yeah, you had to deal with him for 45 minutes. I have him full time. Have a good day."
Yeah, you let me be the parent at home, okay? When I drop the kid off to school, you have one objective, and I'll tell you what it is. Educate my child, okay?
Yeah.
If he doesn't behave or
you
he
piss the kid off during the day, expect him to be pissed off and come back at you. That's just the way he always was. He rode shotgun in that school. It was amazing that he actually made it to graduation.
Well,
but totally different child again.
And I'm going to tell you, I think the other thing is too, you know what? Stop teaching children on how we learned, and let's start teaching children on how they learn. Okay?
There you go. There's a key issue, and it starts young.
And it
does. I recognize the situation with my my second boy. Before he was a year old, I realized how intelligent that child was. So now here's the problem that we face, and it's a bigger problem for veterans. The children of veterans have the most issues, and it's been linked back. Veterans wind up taking more vaccines. Veterans and nurses get the full line of vaccines, and veterans get stuff put on top of that, and so that all affects the DNA genetically, and so you wind up having kids that wind up getting more vaccines stuck into them and have issues. And when it comes to the school, yes, you're right. The way the kids' school is basically 6 hours or 7 hours of babysitting.
Yeah, that's it. It's not school anymore. And on top of it, okay, it's a matter of, they think all these people, you could do all the testing that you want, okay? You could do all this testing and say, well, our kids are dumbed down or there's this and that. Let me tell you, some of the best inventors and geniuses of this world had no education. And somehow or another, they came out on top. But I'm going to tell you, you took away shop class. You took away the things that could teach kids outlets on doing other things. Okay? Now our children, there's no more shop classes. Okay, or you have to be. We have a thing down here called the Kate Center, where kids can learn auto mechanics and everything else. But you better have good grades to be able to get in there. So now we have already said, okay, now we're creating another separation. If the child doesn't
So you're
have good,
tossing
yeah,
lower guys out.
that's
They could
right.
excel like there's no tomorrow.
Right. The ones you want to help are the troubled ones, because I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
you can be rich as you want to be, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass, and
It
that's
comes down to souls.
it's stupid. Change your
It-
thinking, people, and grow up. My God,
Uh,
grow
it, it-
up.
it's all in the
I-
management. I'll
right.
give you another quick personal story.
Sure.
Um,
Yep.
Back when I guess I was about 19. I was at my aunt's house, and it was her best friend's children. They adopted a boy and a girl. Sweet little girl. Well, they were in their teens now, and he was about 13 years old, and she was about 11 or 12 somewhere, and they were friends with my aunt's kids, and so they were all playing together. But he was just a rotten kid. He loved to torment whoever he could possibly torment, mostly his sister.
Was he the oldest? Was he the
Yeah,
oldest?
he was the oldest.
Yep. Nice.
so-
Same with mine. Go ahead.
So
Yep,
one day,
yep.
my aunt was having a party, and he was tormenting my cousins and his sister, and I just had enough of his nonsense, and I grabbed him by the arm, and I twisted it back to just about the point where it was ready to pop out of the socket, and I told him to leave him alone, or I'll pop it out. Well, he held his tears in, and he went in, and I know he told his mom, and I think I'm going to hear it, it's going to come.
Right.
Well, about an hour later, she comes over and very nonchalantly she says, it's not easy raising kids. You just wait until you have your own. Fast forward the clock. We're at my sister-in-law's wedding, and here's this same woman. I won't go into details, but she's at the wedding, and I've got my then 5-year-old and 3.5-year-old, and they're dressed in their little suits, and they're doing their thing throughout, not getting in any trouble, but doing their thing, enjoying themselves at the wedding. And she comes up to me, the same woman who says, wait till you have your kids. She comes up to me and she says, you've got the most well-behaved kids I've ever seen.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
have it.
lady, remember?
Yeah. All right, now this is where I can jump in here. Now, in regards to it, after over 32 years in my business, watching brothers in our business, the top guy, the oldest guy, because I've watched my oldest son, and there's a pattern that's been developing throughout years. The oldest guy is a smart guy. He's the wise guy. He's getting beaten over the head and whatever. And he plays tricks on the younger kids, However, that middle guy, I've noticed this throughout years, the middle guy, including my middle boy, is Mr. Personality. That's the guy that can walk on water. The youngest kid is the one who's trying to pick up, it's like, well, no, I got to be like the oldest kid, and he's worried about, keeping up with the Joneses, as you might say, but the middle kid always, I've noticed, has that lovable personality. Lovable. I don't know what it is, man.
It all has to do with birth order.
Well, Kalen, Kalen being the oldest, he has come so far, and he was on here, as a matter of fact, sometime last year, and we had him on, and he had issues, some drug issues and everything, and he has been clean now, year and a half, whatever, and turned his life so far around. It's night and day. He has got a solid job, has bought his own car, has a nice girlfriend. We're good with their parents and stuff, and has a dog and everything that can be overwhelming for me. He hasn't figured that part out yet, but as far as and he's a little into it for himself right now, but he has a lot on his plate. I have to give him credit. But I'm going to tell you, his empathy level and everything has magnified probably 10 times. Once I got them away from the damn drugs. And you drug dealers, you all suck.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say. And that includes Big Pharma.
Yes, you're 100% correct about that. But here's the biggest issue that our children face today: the lack of a compelling future, the lack of a destination. They don't know where to go, and they come out of college or they come out of school knowing virtually nothing. Walk up to a college graduate that isn't a history major and ask them basic questions about American history.
That's
like,
why
what year was the War of 1812 fought? I don't know. It's like
Guild trades, man. Yep.
And so, we the way that the system is set up, and wow, just the skies just opened up here. The way that the system is set up is for failure. We take it's the drive, send everybody to college, saddle them with huge debt. The national debt for college students is over $1 trillion.
That it is so stupid. Let me tell you something. There's no reason that these kids should
people
have
out
to
of college
work.
with this debt that don't know anything.
And how are they ever going to get rid of it? Do you know how long it takes them? A lifetime to get rid of this crap. That's not college anymore. That's not doing something to put them out into a field to say, okay, you're educated and we supplied this for you, but guess what? You're going to owe us the rest of your life. You know what? That's just a burden that they don't need. Okay, and frankly, if you have, my daughter's going to go through this, and I'm a little scared for her, and but I know she'll do well. But it's just a matter of she doesn't need that kind of burden. She's got enough things on her plate. My God.
Exactly. So now here's the thing. We're at a time period where the whole family is under pressure, under stress, put into debt, as you said, living from paycheck to paycheck. It's not like there's a bank account unless you got a 401k, which you don't want to touch. But if you have a 401k, I'm going to tell you something real quick. Put it someplace other than in paper. Put it in precious metals and take possession of the metal if you can, because we're going to run into a real situation by the end of the year.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah, wholeheartedly. And it's not going to get any better either. Hey, I do want to throw this in here. There's something that's very important. I did want to, and I just had something pop up down in South Carolina, and it is heading up to Ohio and up the East Coast. Is a new drug called Gray Death. It's a mixture of opiums and fentanyl and some other things, and there is no, they got that Narcan for the heroin, and it's got heroin in it too.
So it's not like a dinner. What you're going to tell us? Yeah, you're on that.
Narcan will not save you from this stuff. It will not save you. Do yourself a favor, please. If you're having a drug issue or something else, get the help, okay? And I wanted to throw that in there because this is something, while we're talking about the kids and the drugs and everything like that we're dealing with. But this stuff was called Gray Death. Parents, pay attention to it. Look at it. If you see stuff going on around your house, you know what? Call the local authorities. Clue them in on it, okay? They can't do it by themselves. Let's start shutting these guys down and making their lives harder and harder so that we could keep our kids cleaner and cleaner and let them have what we envision them having so they can envision themselves. And that's a good life. You can't do that with drugs. You just can't. No,
and the situation, it's not, we've got a really bad drug epidemic, which has been created by Big Pharma with their opiates. When a prescription opiate pill is more expensive than a pack of heroin, something is definitely wrong. But regardless of the situation, people take drugs for one reason, actually two reasons: to feel good, escape, and to kill pain.
Yep, escape.
Yeah, it's escape. It's escape from the reality of the situation, but it's the escape from whatever pain they are feeling at the time. And so, kids will experiment with everything, and I don't think cannabis is a gateway drug by any means. You want a gateway drug, it's alcohol. Because, but the situation is, whether, regardless of what it is, if a person is trying to kill pain, they will go from something not so potent to something deadly, something that will destroy their lives indefinitely, something that will get them thrown in jail and see the keys thrown away behind that under today's laws. So, we have to go back right again to the home. And here's the situation. This all came out of the 60s with the women's liberation movement. Nothing against women wanting the same wage for the same work. That's absolutely mandatory. Not for women to be discriminated against. If we didn't discriminate against women, there wouldn't have never been a women's movement. But men have always been generally disempowering. So here comes the women's movement. And you can look this up. It was supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, and the main reason was to put more people into the workforce to gain more taxes. And so the failing of the family started coming out of the 1960s. We had the sexual revolution, the drug revolution, the hippies of the 60s. Interesting, most of those hippies became entrepreneurs later on in life. But it created, what was happening was a whole change in atmosphere where now, we got to go to college. We got to get an education. We have to compete. We have to compete with the men because we're just as good as men. And why do women have to stay home with their kids? Let me tell you something. I worked 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day.
Yep.
Sometimes 16 hours a day.
Yep.
So my wife wouldn't have to work so she could raise our children.
Yep.
Because
That's correct.
I didn't want her going through the same thing that I went through or my mom went through. My parents had a business. When I was born, I got shipped out to one grandparent. When my brother was born, he got shipped out to the other grandparent until we basically got to school age, and then we were back living with my parents. But they were running a business. Later on in life, my mother, because she never raised us, she wound up having 2 more children that she got to raise. And moms have that way of just doing things with children. And if they're not there, the kids going to grandma. Yep, that's the next best thing because grandma loves the grandbabies. Going to an aunt is good. Going to a babysitter, a daycare center, something of that nature. Those people don't love your children. They love the money that you're paying them to watch your children.
Well, and that's just it, because that's what's happened. We could not survive if Judy wasn't working. I used my entire check to pay bills. Okay, I don't see it. I don't see it. It is done. By the time I'm doing the mortgage, by the time I'm doing some of the extra stuff, we're using her check even to pay a few bills, but then to survive off of. Okay, and my mom lives here with us, but she even pitches in and helps out. There's no way we would survive because we've created this mess. We created this mess over a false illusion that was presented, and I'm going to tell you it's been a nightmare ever since, and I'm not trying to be chauvinistic, but that's exactly why we need parents at home, because the mothers were very good. Right. But hang on, the mothers were very good back then, and they were in constant communication. If you got in trouble and your neighbor saw you, the mother next door, and she knew, I'm going to call your mother, or she'd beat you, or something else, okay? It was okay. It was okay. That's right. It's okay because you had each other's back. People were closer together. And the problems that you're talking about with like veterans and stuff like that with the kids today, think about it. They're up, they're moving, they're going from one school to another school, readjusting. They don't have time to breathe. They're getting all the vaccines, everything else. Yeah, man, the game is rigged, baby. The game is already rigged. And now we have all these drugs that we deal with. And no, marijuana probably is not a gateway. It has a very definite helpful use in today. Okay, I don't do it myself, but I will tell you, here's why kids try other stuff. Okay, they try marijuana, it works for them. It worked. Okay, so here's the problem. Then they start thinking, well, if that works so good, maybe I could try something else that might be more effective. The problem is, kids, they always want to dabble. It's not a gateway drug, but the problem is that I would tell anybody, if you can survive without anything, do it. Okay?
Well, here's the
Do
thing:
it.
if we give our kids coping skills,
Yes.
and this goes right. Let's back up the clock. Once upon a time, when Mom was there for the kids, she taught them coping skills, and then those kids taught their children coping skills, and their children taught their children coping skills, and then all of a sudden, Mom wasn't there anymore.
Exactly.
You know, I can remember, just sharing the information. The baby's got this. What do you think the problem is? Well, let's see. You had that when you were that age, and this is what the situation was. Do this. Okay, thanks, Mom. You know, that organic knowledge is gone. Now we go to an iPhone and we look it up, or a smartphone. Let's see. The baby's crying. What are the causes?
Dr.
It's
Phil.
like there's no. Yeah.
Dr. Phil.
Well, next thing you know,
We've got
you're
idiots
taking
on
a trip to the
TV.
hospital and gaining hospital bills.
We have got idiots on TV, okay, that, you know what, that's great that this particular thing worked with your kid or whatever else, but your environment is completely different than the environment that we're in. And to sit there and lop them in is no different than what the teachers do with kids with an IEP. Okay, every child is different. Until you understand the snowflake effect of differences of human beings, you're never going to get it. You'll never get it, man. The game is rigged because a lot of these kids are coming from areas that are terrible areas and everything else. And parents, mothers need to be at home and working with other mothers to keep an eye on their kids. And everybody needs to, keep them in line. You need a team, man. That's why they say it takes a village to raise a child. We don't have a village. You understand?
Yeah.
Well, here's the
The
thing.
village is gone.
Here's the thing. Okay, mothers. The way I was raised in the family nucleus scenario. Keep that in mind. All right. So the old man goes to work. Mama takes care of the kids, and if they're out of hand, then the old man, depending on the scenario, has to take care of business in regards to ass weapons, whatever you want to classify it as. Thank God, I never, ever had to deal with that because Mama had to take care of business, all right? So, early 70s, the bras up. We got to start burning our bras and all this shit, and they started that, and then all of a sudden, then you had your divorce rates, your latchkey kids, all right? And we had, I don't know how many, throughout the years, man, latchkey kids over our house. And I remember the oldest son, who's going to be 28, asking my wife. He asked her, he says, "Are you going to kick me out of the house when I turn 18? She laughed. She says, "No." Why? Because all my buddies, I don't know how many kids I incorporated in my house that were kicked out of their houses just for a few weeks, and how many I had to kick back out. I says, all right, look, you were kicked out of your house when you're 18. You could stop over in our house for a couple weeks, get things together, and then you got to go, man. And I had to kick him out. Then being a kind guy, I looked like the biggest frick in the world.
No,
their parents kicked them out of their house, and I take them in briefly to regroup, and move along, and then, no, I'm a prick. Oh, yeah. That happened about 4 times.
But let me tell you something. Here's the thing, and all kids have to understand this. Right now, all these little kids think that they're untouchable because we've set this up this way. Okay, we've been our own worst enemies, and we have. We set this up from the education to everything that we've just talked about. When they're 18, okay, that's when you can turn to them and say, listen, you aren't going to throw any temper tantrums here. You aren't going to pull any of this shit here, because once you're 18, see, I'm done. I'm done. Now, if you want to continue to stay here, this is how it is. Okay? We should have had this from the very beginning, from the time that they're children. There are rules here and everything else. Until they understand, oh, well, now the law says. No, the law was, I'm the law. Not the police shouldn't be the ones you have to go to, or the court systems to say, I'm the law. You're the parent. See?
Right.
We should have had that power to begin with. And now
we did have that power, but we never exercised it because of the environment in which we were brought up in.
Yeah.
You see, it's gone from, my dad believed in corporal punishment to the extreme. I said, I'm not going to raise my kids that way. I'm going to do X. And I did. I raised them in a very loving environment. They did have discipline. Sometimes it was corporal. Sometimes it was a matter of restrictions. You know, go to your room, go to the corner, whatever the case might be. That all stopped. That all ended. That education ended when kids started going to their grandparents or going to nursery schools and going to daycare centers. That ended. And so now we have to cut that there's laws to protect our kids, and then all of a sudden those laws that are set up to protect the kids now apply at home, where you can't spank your kid anymore. What are you, insane?
What?
You know, and
Yeah.
so
And,
yeah,
you know,
that's the system.
hey,
And then
Tom,
we take it
how are
one
ya?
step further, and this is the worst thing of all. Since within the past 10 years, we've been giving our children cell phones at an earlier and earlier age. It actually started 15 years ago, right around 2000, where people were, you know, well, my daughters are learning to drive. She's going to be out on the road by herself. I want her to make sure she's got a cell phone in case, you know, an emergency, she can call somebody. Great idea. You know, have that a little electronic leash there. But the problem is, that's when you actually made a physical call on a cell phone. Now you've got smartphones, and the kids can't put them down. And so they're being influenced by artificial intelligence, and the real intelligence has gone out the window. Let me just say this one thing. Moving off the grid, I realized just how much junk I don't need in my life.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, but
Bet you needed a chainsaw.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's not junk.
Hi,
Needed
Tom.
the
How are
chainsaws.
you?
Got two of them. Got a bunch of hand tools. I got my guitar. Got my harmonicas. And I do keep my computer. But the cell phone gets shut off.
But
You know, when I need to make a phone call, I turn it on.
Let me explain something. We had that, and the reason that people now think that that's a valid argument was because we had a couple of jackasses that went into schools that were screwed up in their mind and went in there with whatever they went into, you know, guns, and decided to go ahead and kill innocent people, innocent children. Out of all the things to pick on, hey, let's pick on children. You know, so now all the parents were like, no, if something's going on, I want to know about it. Even though we can have 1,000 parents rushing down there, God knows they'll leave work for that. Okay, and you can't attend an IEP meeting, but you'll leave work for that. So these kids now have learned to rely on, because mom and dad aren't at home, we're not sitting having dinners anymore, we're not having conversations or anything else. You know, I can't even tell you, half of us know where our kids are some of the time. Okay?
We are raised by our devices.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so now smartphones have GPS. Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you can
here
use
you
it,
go.
and so can the government use it.
You see,
Now,
I've
you see
disabled
the
that
rich
for my
kids. You see the rich kids at school, and for 1 year, I remember it was everybody bought Uggs. Now those damn Uggs cost about $250 a pop. Okay.
What are they?
And they're called Uggs. They were a boot. They were a freaking glorized shoe, is what they were.
Ugg boots with like wool on the inside.
Oh yeah. So they called them Uggs.
Pretty much.
And-
Slippers.
Yeah.
They're slippers in boot form.
Yeah,
People
slip
wear 'em
money out of
shopping.
my pocket into their damn product. And then there was a certain kind of jeans. Then there was a shirt, and then everybody wears them. Now I've got people that are walking around here in these leggings or these stretchy pants things that have no business wearing those things. Okay, but
Oh my God! Don't get me started on that, man.
Exactly. So now we have the phone, and of course Apple comes out. Apple didn't tailor this thing to adults; it tailored it to the kids.
Well, there's
Because
an interesting
they saw-
documentary.
They saw how the kids can influence the parents to getting them the Uggs, the jeans, the stretchy pants or leggings, and all the different things, and they knew they were on a gold mine. So now we're having the phone wars. Right now the battle is between Apple and Samsung. You can get the Samsung S8 or you can get the Apple S7 Plus. Okay? I mean, those are your two top ones right now.
Well,
each one of them
know,
is $750 a pop. Okay?
Now
Either-
think about
either
think
at
about this
1200.
though. Think about this though. We're providing our children with a device that is literally not just physically harming them through radiation and through the radio frequencies that we're being hit with, but it's also corrupting their mind through artificial intelligence. That screen is programmed in order to change your physiology. Every computer monitor, every TV, every iPhone and smartphone, there are analog rhythms coming out of that device which are literally controlling our mind and our physiology. That patent was issued in 2002, I believe, and there's been a series more of patents that all support the same thing, and that's all artificial intelligence. And people don't, it took me a while to get my head wrapped around this, how it actually works, but it's connected to the chemtrails and the crap that we suck into our bodies, and those get activated. They're in crystalline form, they're nanobot particles basically. They get activated and they cause brain interference. They cause interference
SATIs.
between the synapses within our brain.
SATIs.
Now they wonder why everyone has depression.
SATIs, and the reason, the philosophy behind it on the chemtrails is that they believe that with that they're throwing out a chemical which they believe not only can control weather patterns, okay, but it also can prevent global warming. They can actually cool the planet down by having them up there. What they don't take into account is the side effects of what it is going to do with everything else. And they, so
Bingo.
And then you look at it. But still on the books today, the government at any time can test out different things on you without your knowledge. They can do that. Okay, that's never been changed as far as I've been aware of that. And if you don't believe it, don't believe me. Go check it out yourself. Okay, you can get that from Freedom of Information Act. You can go on in there and request it and see what the different things that they can do and they can't do. I am not anti-government. I am pro-government as far as, listen, the system works for me.
As far as what?
Yeah.
As far as
Let's say pro-government constitutional-wise.
Yes, the government works for me. I don't mind paying taxes. I don't mind doing those things. I serve my country. I love my country. Okay, that's what I mean by that. I don't always agree with everything that they do. I don't. But then again, that's why I have the right to vote. And, I can choose to do that thing. So never take my word for it. I want you to go look it up yourself. But, for the most part, everything works for me, okay? I've got a family, that relies on me. And I love this country. This is my country.
You want to change the paradigm with your kids? Don't buy them a smartphone. Buy them a fishing rod and take them fishing.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, get them back to nature, man.
That's something I look forward to with my grandkids.
Yeah, and Tom, let me ask you something, Tom. Since you joined us all the way from Australia, how is it over there? Are you seeing the same things that we're seeing?
It's the same. You have people wearing what are those all their fitness leggings and outfits and that, and all they do is go and drink coffee and eat milk and have milkshakes and sit on their phones with their friends and that, and don't actually do any physical activity. Everyone, like, you just go into a supermarket and everyone's on their phone. Like, my girlfriend's just sent me a grocery list, and what I'm going to do is when I park at the store, I'm going to write the list down on a notepad because I hate using my phone. I only use my phone now to listen to L&M.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for that.
You guys are the problem.
But today, and you look at today's world, these kids are recording fights, they're recording drug deals, they got themselves doing these fancy moves, making gang signs and guns and everything else, and I keep thinking to myself, the evil that comes with this thing, where's the goddamn warning label on that? Where is it?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and
isn't
I'm
any.
sorry, I don't mean to be harsh, but where's the warning label on that? And why do we
Where
have
was
such
the warning
stupid
label on life?
laws? Why do we have such stupid laws? You know what? I'm going to tell you.
Because
If I
people
were
have
a
lost their
judge,
common sense.
if I were a judge and I found out a child recorded a fight instead of trying to break it up, okay, and recorded it, and a bunch of people stood around and watched, everybody gets charged. Everybody gets charged.
On the topic of common sense, there's a comedian called Steve Hughes, I think his name is, and he's talking about when it was like him growing up, like he's in his 40s, and he's like, when I was growing up, we had a thing called common sense instead of...
Yeah, it's and we have
or
lost
H&S.
it.
You know, you walk along
Yeah,
my parents taught me common sense.
and you have to, but the kids don't have common sense today. Okay, they barely have the education because we've made the educational system so stupid. You know, and I'm hoping that fixes itself. I really am. I'm praying that we get rid of this Common Core crap and be done with it, and move on back to where we were, because it made sense for the kids. The kids could learn that way. Quit putting roadblocks.
My
on
daughter's
them.
just turned 4 in February, and I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and she said an iPad.
Good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need Algebra 10 in order to succeed in life, folks, okay? I've never had to use it in an elevator. I'm pretty sure I could look at the buttons and press the buttons and everything else. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the amount that we're trying to teach these kids at such a young age with their brains that are barely even developed to begin with. That's what we're supposed to be doing, is developing their brains, and instead we've made a complete and utter mess. And you know, Peter, and Skillz, you know this, and a matter of fact, you know, we look at this and we've talked about this. Put a wrench in your kid's hand. I mean,
well, that's what I ended up getting my daughter, a little kid's toolkit.
Hey,
my youngest
kids
son
and my kids are the same way.
Can break down anything diesel and put it back together again. He is a natural mechanic. That kid loves being covered in grease for some reason.
Well, Skillz, your daughter is phenomenal at driving, and she can work on a car. But you know what? At least I know that if Nikki got, she got a flat tire or something, she could change that thing on the side of the road, no problem. She'll be all right.
My girlfriend doesn't even know how to change a tire.
Hey, Michael, we got off a half an hour, about 20 minutes late, so we're going to go 20 minutes into it.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, we're to that point to where, can your kids handle a simple flat tire? Can they? Would they know what to do if they had a problem? Do they know how to check the oil? Do they even know how to go into the car and do the common sense thing?
When I was in high school, probably about year 10, maybe year 11, towards the end of high school, they went to an all-boys school, and they decided, instead of doing the regular curriculum for a week, they changed it up to life skills. So you learned how to change washers in taps, and change a tire, and change an oil filter, and all that sort of stuff that,
And why do you think they did that
in regular life?
And why do you think they did that?
Because, well, it divided the teachers, because it was against what the school board wanted them to teach, and these, I think it was 3 teachers just fought for it and did it anyway. Just so that us students would be able to leave school and be able to know how to change a tire, know how to fix change a washer in a tap without having to spend a fortune on a plumber.
Well, the thing is, these kids get out of school now, they want to give them this high education, and Skillz, Peter and Tom, you guys know, they can't balance a checkbook. Do you realize that? They can't balance
they never
a
taught us that
checkbook.
in school.
They can't change a flapper on a toilet.
Online banking. Yep.
How is that? Have we really done this to ourselves and not seen it? They were in Algebra 2, Algebra 3, whatever.
No, Michael, accounting class, 1980, for God's sake.
It just, and we're wondering what's going wrong. Are we really, Peter, are we doing this on purpose to our kids? Are we doing this on purpose to this generation to really dumb them down?
Well, yes and no. We're doing it subconsciously to our kids as a society because of, I'll give you a good example. I was working literally every day for a while, at least 12 hours a day, and we're not even talking about commute time. People are put on a treadmill. People are put on, and you know, I see it here every day. People start leaving this community at 4 o'clock in the morning to head down to New York City to put in their hours there. And the reason why they head is so they don't have to deal with the traffic getting through the Lincoln Tunnel, where they held Gotham Shield nuclear drill the other day, last week. To get into this city, to slave for however, because you got good wages in New York City. I'm not going to argue that. There's a lot of opportunity there. And then they commute 2 hours back. They get home 8, 9 o'clock at night. They go to bed, they eat dinner, they go to bed. How much time do you think they actually spend with the kids? They probably fall asleep watching TV and then climb into bed only to get up at 3 o'clock to get ready to go to work at 4. What kind of life is that? What kind of life is that? And yet, I'm not saying everybody in this community, but there's cars start pulling out of here, 4:30, they're out of here, they're leaving. And you know, most of them pull out around 7 o'clock in the morning. You got a lot of traffic leaving this community anymore. Being off the grid, we used to joke about it, but my son is on a job site. He's commuting 200 miles a day, 100 miles out, 100 miles back. We joked about being off the grid, the commute from camp down to the job site. Yeah, we'd always take the truck because we brought the generator and tools and everything that we needed. All of 600 feet. We complain about the commute, how terrible it was, laughing. Yeah. You find all the things you don't need in this society that we've been driven into, that we do because we have no other choice in order to survive. Exactly. It's breaking out of that. It's doing what we need to break out of what we've been put into. It's like being on a Roman. I love the movie Charlton Heston.
Deserted Island.
It's where they're on the Roman galleon and they're rowing.
Spartacus?
They're out Spartacus. Not Spartacus. Shucks, it'll come to me in a minute. But all these guys are rowing on this ship, and that's their whole life. Once they've been chained to those oars, the only way out is death. So they get fed, and they're chained to a job that's going to keep them there until they're 65. And fed all this pharmaceutical stuff controlled by artificial intelligence. And if we don't break away from that, we are doomed as a society. And keep in mind, we are in a society that loves to hear lies over truth.
I think it's more loves to believe lies over truth.
Yeah, well, there you go. If you don't, I'll back that up with one statement. I asked my mother back in 1992 during the presidential election who she thought would become the next president, and she said Slick Willie. I said, "Why is that?" And she said, "Because Americans love to be lied to."
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Skillz, go on.
Here's the thing. All right, now if you can picture being on perhaps a plane that's about to crash, or perhaps a boat that's going to be close to an island, and you're out of there. All right. So now you have all of these guests, so-called guests, people. All right. Now, who is going to contribute to, all right, now you need food, water, shelter. Bottom line, bang, bang, bang. 3 of them, all right? Now, you hit the white-collar workers, unless they have that as a hobby. Skilled trades, baby. That's where it's at. You know, and it's funny. You could be on a beach, okay, crashed with doctors and lawyers, or not really doctors, but judges, attorneys, lawyers. You know, not going to dance, magistrates, and all of a sudden, oh man, we got a problem here. Well, who's going to make it? Well, hey, I'll help you out. I'm a judge, and once we get back home, I'll help you out. Yeah, you know what? Guess what you're doing? You're sawing wood, baby, and I'm controlling the whole project.
And you know, the whole thing too is, I think I've seen this so many times in my life, that I have seen kids that when they grew up, their parents had money. When they grew up, their parents, you know, were very wealthy, had the good stuff, got them anything that they wanted, never sick or anything.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, let me, no, hang on. And then, in all honesty, they hit about 21, 22, and something bad happened to maybe their parents or something like that. They never had to deal with any coping skills because no coping skills were needed. Life was good right until that point in time. And then all of a sudden, they just went bonkers. I mean, they couldn't.
And all of a sudden, Daddy had gambling debts.
Yep, and
they, way that money goes.
So the kids that had more problems when they were younger had better outcomes because they were ready to face anything when they got older. Today, it's different. As the kids are younger, now that they're having problems, they still don't have those coping skills because mom and dad aren't at home, as Peter said, and no one's teaching them that. And now it's becoming meaner and meaner and meaner out there. And we've done this. And now we need to correct it. We have to go home. We have to make dinners again. Find the time. Get off of the TV. You come to the dinner table, put the damn phone down, sit down, tell us what's going on with the day, you know? Go ahead. And no judgment. No judgment, you know? Sit there, have the conversations, eat a good dinner. Okay, I don't care if it takes 20 minutes. And then when you're done, everyone go back to wherever they were in La La Land. Who knows? That's my
Proverbs 22. Let me just interject this real quick. Proverbs 22:6. Direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it.
That's right.
So start young.
Dumb down, baby. Dumb down.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. When you guys were in school, how much homework did you guys get sent home with?
Yeah, see, not much at all. But I'm going to tell you, I did a lot of homework because I had a disability. I had dyslexia to boot. So I had a tutor all through school from 8th grade on. I worked my bupkis off in order to try to keep up. And I think I only graduated with like a 2.0 to begin with, if it was that. But I'm going to tell you, I really strived really hard because I remember the psychologist telling my parents, you know, you'll be lucky he'll won't be in jail. And I was like, you know what, Dick, I ain't going to jail, you know, or anything else. I was pretty angry at that. And I remembered him telling my mom that. And I made sure I worked extra hard in order to get where I was. And I'm sorry, I guess that wasn't the nicest thing to say, but it wasn't the F-bomb or anything like that. So, you know.
Because I've noticed, I was reading an article the other day that kids are getting now, like when I was in school, I might have got half an hour of homework, if that, like I barely got any. Now kids here, I don't know what it's like over in the States, kids here are getting like 3 or 4 hours of homework a day. So they've just spent from 8:30 to 3:30, 4 o'clock at school, and then they're going home to do another 4 hours of bookwork. When are they going to have time to be kids? When are they going to have time to learn skills of that? When, like, I'd go to my grandparents after school and I'd be in the shed with my grandpa who taught me how to weld when I was 12, and build stuff and fix
the skills. He taught you skills.
Yeah, I used it depended on my teachers, but most of the time I would have at least a half an hour. I mean, at least an hour's worth of homework. Sometimes more than that. But whether I did it or not was another question.
Well, you
Yep.
just tell the
Yeah,
kids.
that might be my fuzzy memory. I might think that I got none when really I just didn't do it.
Well, I know I had quite a bit, and there were some classes that I had to do the homework in. You know, I couldn't cheat on chemistry. You had to know
Right.
that stuff.
I
But
always told the kids, all right, here's the deal. You know, we'll get home. Let's have dinner. Go disappear. The street lights come on. Get home. That's your clue. Get home. Okay, and then
Yeah, when the sun's going down.
you know, and then after that point, you know, do what you have to do on homework. You got to break it up somewhere for them. But they don't want to do homework. They've been in a class and been overloaded so much with some, you know, high-tech crap that they don't want to do homework. Don't you get it? Their day is done. They're done. They're cashed out, man.
Well, how often do you go to work for 8 hours a day and then go home and do the same crap?
never.
You don't like you might have to go home and mow the lawns or something like that, but you're going to go home and you're going to at least have a cup of coffee or a drink and sit down for half an hour before you do it. You don't get out of the car and jump straight on the mower and start cutting the grass or splitting wood. I mean, I live off the grid, as you guys know, and I've spent days and days at work cutting wood because I'm an outside worker. I don't go home and start splitting wood straight away. I'll relax at least for an hour, split wood for half an hour, stack it, and then relax for the rest of the night.
Well, the way the day's broken up, you have 8 hours for work, you have 8 hours for family, and you have 8 hours for rest. Okay?
That all works well in a normal world, but I'll tell you what, in my whole professional career, I have never only worked 8 hours.
No.
It was usually somewhere between 10 and 12 hours a day, and like I said, sometimes it went to 16 hours.
So when you got done doing your work and your boss turns around and says, here's homework for you, how excited were you for that? Huh? That's my
Yeah,
point.
that
my
never
point.
happened. Well,
The kid don't want to go home and do a project to appease a teacher so that it can be pinned up or taped up on the wall at the school so the teacher's ego feels better that, hey, this kid, he did this, look at this. Look at all my kids did these projects. Bull crap. The parents did those projects because they had to sit there and go on out, buy materials. You give parents homework. That's what it is. You're telling me you have 8 hours during the day and you can't educate these kids or make sure that they don't have homework before they go home? And you think that they're going to be stupider than what they are right now? Please. The whole philosophy caves in upon itself. Have the kids at school. Let the kids finish school. When school's done, it's done. Let's move on. Let them go play for a bit. Let them eat at dinner. Let them, do whatever it is they're going to do. Okay?
Because doing that, they work on developing themselves, and then there's less issues like what we're seeing now.
Absolutely. I love watching adult cartoons, well, more geared toward adult cartoons. There's one that's come out called Rick and Morty.
Oh, I love it.
Isn't it great?
Oh, fantastic.
Rick's the grandfather. He's the genius of the multiverse, and he pulls Rick out of school. He pulls Morty out of school, and he says, "Come on, Morty, you got to go with me. You're not going to learn anything here anyway."
And he treats his grandson like absolute crap.
Oh, he treats everybody like crap. Well, he's the genius of the multiverse, so it's really outstanding, and it's funny. As the series develops, you find out that he's a radical, and he's fighting a galactic empire, which actually winds up occupying Earth. And the new season starts off with he turns himself in. He's wanted. He turns himself into the galactic empire. And they've occupied Earth here, and through his genius, he winds up turning their monetary system down to zero. So he just destroys their whole monetary system on their computer, and their whole system falls apart. They leave Earth and they're off, and so now we start the next season. But it's unbelievable. It's all about the interdimensional possibilities, and there's so much truth that's put into that. It's phenomenal. And there's so many I won't say subliminal, but the hidden things, and it all deals with what we're facing with today. It really does, right down to a useless education system.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, you got onto that today. After I was, this morning I'm working and everything. Ellis and we like to turn the TV on just to listen to it. And then this cartoon came on. Cleveland.
Thanks for spoiling that for me. I haven't seen.
And anyway.
I've watched it about 5 times. It's worth it. Trust me. It's a lot. It's a great ending. I didn't destroy it all for you.
Stuff.
So.
Yeah.
So anyway, after seeing that brings up, my last point is that the cartoons today aren't for the kids.
Better not have.
Hang on there, Tom. The cartoon aren't for the kids that are age group 12 to whatever. They're already past that. They're already doing stuff else. They've got their cell phones. So rule them out. So now we have cartoons that are designed for kids that are 3-4 years old up until they're 12 years old. Now, if you ever have had a chance to look at some of these cartoons that they've had on TV and the innuendos and everything else that they've thrown on them, and we're asking why our kids are having some of the problems and getting hit from every facet in every different direction, look at some of these cartoons. Start off with Cleveland Brown. Whoever that writer is, shame on you. And when they say, well,
that's part of the Family Guy series. And here's the interesting thing about Family Guy. I do like Family Guy. It's gotten really kind of off the page, and I don't have a TV anyway, so I don't watch it. But here's when it first came out. It came out on Adult Swim, and it aired, I believe, 11 or 11:30. So
Seth failed, but go ahead.
This is at 12. Listen, this is at 11 o'clock. It comes on 11 o'clock prime time.
Well, that's the thing.
Not at night. I'm talking 8 a.m.
I understand that, and that's when when Family Guy first came out, and Cleveland Brown's a spin-off of Family Guy. But when that first came out, you could only see it after 11 o'clock at night on one channel, Adult Swim. That's anyway. It went from there to being year after year after year. Finally, I was a couple 2-3 years ago. I noticed you could watch that 6 times in one day, exactly what you said, starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. So what used to be an adult cartoon that you could only see after 11 o'clock was now being shown to kids that weren't even going to school yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The whole thing's unbelievable.
7:30 at night at one point here.
Well,
yeah, you could watch it. They played it in the morning, and they played it twice in the afternoon, once in the evening, and then there was the prime time, and then you can see it 2 times on Adult Swim. It was like, seriously, you can watch this thing you can watch one cartoon after another throughout the day, and watch on, not every day, but on some days you could watch Family Guy 6 times, starting in the morning, so you kids could watch it before the toddlers could watch it. When the kids came home from school, they could watch a couple episodes. You could watch it at dinner time with your family, and then you could watch the latest episodes, until they put it on prime time on Sunday.
Yeah,
now everybody can watch it, like we used to watch Bonanza when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Everybody was gathered around the TV, and it was fantastic when my grandmother got a colored TV. We watched the Walt Disney channel. No, it wasn't the channel. What was it? It was.
It was Sunday night.
It was Sunday night. You watched Walt Disney, and then you watched
After
Bonanza.
60 minutes.
And now,
Yep.
And now you get to watch all these adults on these reality shows and the poor behavior that they can display for sensationalism to make a buck. Isn't it wonderful? You know,
And now every kid has a TV in their room as well.
Yeah, no, see, and I've been very good about that. We have one main TV downstairs, and I said this before. I kept telling the kids, put the remote up or I'm going to take the TV out of there. And no one listened to me. I took the TV out of there. So, you know, and it made all the difference in the world. And now that they have the older version TV and they don't have the Netflix and everything, you know, they'll go in there and they'll watch. I don't have to worry about them watching like Shameless or something at 14 years old where they shouldn't be watching that. Now they're stuck to the regular TV. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm doing a good thing until I started seeing the regular TV shows. And then
I heard a very disturbing statistic the other day, and this was on mainstream media. The average child has seen their first pornography video by the age of 9.
Yeah.
Really?
And they do it via smartphones.
Yes, they sure do. They all have porn on there. They all have everything. And that's why we're having the problem. And now we've got all these kids that are disappearing. And, you know, somebody's stealing all the kids now. I mean, we have so many sick people out there because of the technology that we've created with no safeguards, and everyone wants to make their buck. But you know what? We're going to cover that again in another show. We're getting ready to wrap this up here. You know, we apologize. We're running a little bit late, but you know what? We're making up some time we missed. But I want to get some last thoughts, and we've got a lot to talk about next Monday as well. So this is just the beginning, and we're just getting started, folks. I'm going to go to my co-host here, Skillzzz. What you got for us?
All right, tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, thank you indeed for listening, and we will catch up with the rest of you boys after the show is over on Skype, of course, but thanks for listening, man. A lot of informative information, I tell you right now.
Peter, how about you?
Since we were doing a family-type show tonight and covered some interesting subjects, I'm going to end with this. Deuteronomy 6:6 and 7. These words that I am commanding you today must be on your heart, and you must inculcate them in your sons, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk on the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. They're talking about the law of Moses here, but it was inculcate. Look the meaning of that word up. Inculcate them in your sons and daughters, in your children. And once we start taking responsibility and teaching our children, we'll have a lot different outcome. But we have to start at an early age. Can't teach them when they grow up. Can't teach them anything by then. Start at an early age and teach them organic skills. And please, put off giving your child a smartphone for as long as possible. In that, I'm going to say, read Letters to Earth. The future is yours. Love and blessings to all. Have a great night.
Tom, how about you? Any last thoughts there?
We're all screwed.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've got a few last thoughts then. Listen, if you're a veteran, you're out there, please. First of all, I want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for standing on a wall for us.
Yep.
You know, very grateful for that. If you're in need and you're in trouble and everything else, we have a lot of months that come up. Please, you know, that Suicide Prevention Month, PTSD, everything else. Please contact your local veterans hospital. There's a suicide prevention line. There's different places that you can go to on Facebook. There's a great group out there. Lift for 22. These boys, they provide gym memberships, okay? And they do that through donations and everything. Please go to their website, and that's Lift for the 22. Thank you guys so much for doing that for our veterans. I love you guys for that, and very, very blessed. And please, the ones that are out there, come home safe. Jason, man, we miss you. We love you, brother. I hope you get home soon and you get home safe. Last thought, it is a lupus awareness month. And as you know, I have lupus, so if you can donate or help to the people trying to find the cure and the cause of it, then please do. And be good to each other. So with those last thoughts right there, you know what? Take your families back, people. Take them back. They're your families. God entrusted you. So take them back. Do it with love. Do it with care. And we will see you again. Thank you for joining us. Oh, and by the way, we can only stay on the air with your help. So if you go to lnmradionetwork.com, right on there is this big subscribe button or donate button there. We need that so we can stay on the air, okay? We can't provide you, we don't have anyone twisting our arms. What we tell you is what it is, and you can always, look it up yourself, but we need your donations to stay alive here. So on that note, I wish you all a wonderful Tuesday. God bless, and let's just move on, and we'll talk to you next week.
In all sincerity, we will indeed see you next Monday night in a jiffy. Take care. Thanks, guys. Yay! Alrighty then. Yay! Fucking yay! Who's still here?